Welcome to Hard Yarns Podcast.
I am fucking fat.
Anything Chris White says, please disregard it.
5D is actually a state of being. It's a unity consciousness.
That was Hard Yarns with me, Frankie Rose. So I'm going to throw it over to your co-host,
Daniel Jelby.
And Cameron Brand.
I would do this and then I'd gong.
Free in attendance for the millions listening at home. Let's get hard.
Sick. All right. Fuck yeah. We're on. Welcome back.
Sure ball.
Look good, Delby.
Yeah. Turns out when you have a tent, you have a sauna. So
Sweated it all out.
that's it. It's double.
Fuck yeah. We got a Jamie. Jamie is his alias today. If you want to talk, you can speak by... Yeah, there he is.
Wow.
Perfect.
That microphone didn't quite work, hey?
No, just get closer to that mic and then put it the 4 up.
Fuck yeah, we're off to a flyer in 2025.
Fours up.
There we go.
There we go.
There he is.
Use the fours, Jamie. Use the fours.
Oh, that number 4.
Oh, classic. Yes, Jamie's in.
All right.
And we're going to do some more stuff with the TV and shit. But fuck yeah. How was your New Year and stuff, though, before we get into...
Well, I did the wild camp out with some friends.
Yep.
It was fun.
Yeah, sick.
It was actually pretty chill. A lot of alcohol, but everything else was pretty mild.
Yeah, sick.
So-
And you better?
Probably the opposite of Delby's. I was in bed by 10:30. Went to watch the sunset down at City Beach with the kids and my wife.
Yeah.
Nice.
Which beach?
City Beach.
Oh, yeah, sick. Yeah.
Then went home, watched a movie, didn't even make it through the whole movie, fell asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And woke up fresh on New Year's Day.
Mate,
Bad
my,
life.
my daughter got further than you.
Did she really?
She lasted.
Yeah, right.
She's fucking 7. I was like, we set her up in the lounge room with a few friends. We just had a quiet little party.
Yeah.
Set her up with the kids, and they were all watching a movie. And I was like, yeah, sweet. We can let loose a little bit here.
Yeah.
And then she just kept on running around. She's jumping in the pool till like 11:30
How old is
at
she
night.
now?
7.
Yeah.
So, but mate, fucking, yeah. I was halfway between both of you.
Yeah.
So had a few drinks.
We've got a good
yeah,
spectrum
yeah,
spread, yeah.
good one.
Yeah, I never normally do New Year's Eve ever. I always work it,
Yeah.
or I drive because I think it's overrated.
Ah,
New Year's Day is when I kick off.
Last
so,
year is probably the worst New Year's I've ever had.
yeah,
I did a set at Saint,
Yeah.
which was tough.
Oh, yeah.
And I bombed.
Really?
bombed.
New Year's Eve or New Year's Day?
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. I mean, there was people talking. You did pretty well to settle them down, but they were talking and shit. And then I had to follow Delby doing a game, which is not great.
Yeah.
But that was fucking horror show. Then I went home and I was like, I'm going to try mushrooms tonight, and I'm going to see out the New Year. And I didn't have much on me. I didn't have enough, and I just had a little bit of
warm.
nothing. It's just like a little bit of a.
You got to go all the way in.
Yeah, and so it just ended up being really disappointing.
Yeah,
It was
right.
just nothing.
You know
but
what?
this year was great, man. It was really nice.
I think it pretty much always is, isn't it? New Year's Eve night. Like, even if you have the start of your night is good,
Yeah.
it'll be ruined at some point by either someone being too drunk. Like, everybody's at the epitome of their worst on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And then getting home. Getting
Yeah.
home is never easy either. So,
That's why I always drove.
not chill it.
Yeah.
It's so disappointing because you go 10, 9, and at 1, everyone's like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
They just fucking leave.
Mate, I was 12, 15.
Yeah.
Like, I just
And also-
did the sparklers and left.
We did some sparklers with the kids as
Yeah.
well. But I also don't like starting the whole year off on a day of just like hurting. Do you know what I mean? So,
Mate, my first, the 2 years ago I climbed Bluff Knoll. I went down there, went to bed at like 8:30 at my uncle's farm, and then got up at like 3, drove to Bluff Knoll, and me and my cousin, we climbed it, got there for sunrise, and I was like, this is the fucking way to start a new year.
absolutely.
Sober, fresh,
Yeah.
motivated.
nature.
I don't know why I didn't do that again this year.
Next year, mate. Next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be here next year for New Year's.
Well, okay, cool.
If you're struggling with your mental health,
I think I'm going to go potentially to Thailand. It's my mum's birthday on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
So I think if I don't do Christmas, I'll definitely do just after Christmas and do New Year's for my mum's birthday. But Christmas without my daughter would be weird, be a bit hard. So I might do Christmas and then like Boxing Day bugger off.
Yeah,
See my dad, but
Jamie, did you do your marathon Christmas Day? Didn't you do that last year, or you ran A marathon around the farm or something?
A couple years ago, I got up at 2:30 in the morning at a mate's farm and just ran a marathon in the paddock by myself with a bunch of sheep.
New Zealander's dream, they call it.
That's a great way to start.
It was pretty crazy, and the guy whose farm it was just didn't believe me the night before, and then the next day he came out and he's like, what? Yeah.
He looks.
out the
I just
swag.
realised he looks like the ninja butterflies. Ninjas are.
Yeah, a little, yeah.
He's got it going
Or
on.
a bit of like Butterfield as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Isaac Butters.
Longer hair.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
fuck yeah, you got an album coming out, old son.
I do. It's like years in the making. I don't know, to be honest with you. Actually, I do. I was going to say, I don't know what's taken so long, but I do. I kind of took a bit of a step back when Jordan was born, and
Yeah.
I was just like 9 to 5 plus everything else that life throws at us. And then on top of that, trying to work on an album, it was just too much. So I've kind of been slowly slogging away at it. And I was doing songs, and then I was writing new songs that would replace the old ones. And this will be my last album. I don't think I'll do an album again.
Really?
No, I think I'll keep it short form, EP. Everybody's attention span's too short. Albums take too long to do. It's a grueling process. And then because of how long it drags out for, by the time you get to the end, the first songs that you wrote, they're just either not relevant to your life and how you're living anymore, or they're old and you've gotten better and more wise, and you're like, I'll get rid of that. And then that process never stops of making new ones, replacing the old ones. So
And then touring it
and
as
then
well?
touring it as well.
Because last time you were on was the old studio, wasn't it? You
Yes.
didn't come to this
Yeah.
one. And then
been at all
you've just
studios.
been up and down
Nah.
like a coastal one.
Narcissistic Compassion was his last
yeah?
episode. Yeah.
I've actually been at all of your studios. I remember at your house. I came to one of the first ones in the early days.
Casting couch.
Yeah.
Me and Divine.
Yeah. Mate, I fucking bumped into Divine the other day, didn't recognise him.
Yeah, right.
Fucking, he was like, we're talking for like
Was
3 or
that
4
divine
minutes.
intervention?
Yeah, no, we were talking for like, he was at Diogo's
Oh yes.
studio.
Yeah,
And we were
he's the Jamie.
Yeah, he's the Jamie. And I was
spun
just
out.
chatting and he was like, yeah, we've met. And I was like, oh. And I was like, you've lost some weight,
He's
man.
lost a lot of weight. Yeah.
Fuck, he's lost some weight. Looks good.
He looks
He looks happy.
He's doing well.
Yeah.
Doing well.
Fuck yeah.
Love to see him. And so are you guys. I just wanted to, before we even kick off, I wanted to give you guys your flowers because, like I just said, I seen where this started.
Yeah.
Like when I first came there, it was like cool that like this is good. And I guess you guys didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know. No one ever knows where it's going to go. Do they?
that's
So
right.
I always just have the utmost respect for people's ambition and seeing that through. A lot of people talk the talk and never really walk the walk.
Always,
so it's
bro.
been a pleasure to sit back and watch you guys grow. I think you've grown massively in how you can conduct yourselves on the pod as well, like how you initiate conversation, keep the conversation going. You guys have definitely grown, and it's been a pleasure to watch. I want to give you your flowers
Thanks,
while
old son.
we're here. Yeah.
Well, it's the 300th episode on Monday.
Wow.
So maybe we can get, I don't know. We did it.
We
like-
should do it Sunday and crack a can
Nah,
with Wolfie.
I've picked. I told you about this. I've been very rigid.
Ooh,
with a few
I can
things.
see.
I'm being a little bit rigid. I'm still giving myself flexibility. So, like drinking, for example, I've given myself 4 days a month to drink, whether that's a big one or a small one. Which, if it means I have a wine with dinner, that's one of my days.
Yeah.
I can't pick from another month or whatever. And if I don't take them all, that's my loss.
Yeah.
And don't even call it, wouldn't even say rigid. It's just discipline.
Yeah.
You're introducing discipline into your life. Man.
Correct,
That's
yeah.
good.
But I do have wiggle room to add that to there if I really wanted to. But I really want to start up, especially leading into Fringe. I don't want to be still drinking. Like Christmas was heavy. Like for me, especially, like I don't drink too often, and so I sort of let loose a little bit. And drank. And mate, after John's party, I've never felt more sick in my life.
Yeah, really?
Just from the food,
Yeah.
not from
That
the
was so
alcohol.
good, bro.
It was too. So we
good.
we went to All Trades Cover, which you see behind. Sponsor. We went to their Christmas party.
Yeah.
And there was a big platter out, like beautiful platter, like chips and dips and meats, and I was like just feasting, not realizing there was a slow cooker meal coming out. Like, so
Oh, you
I
ate too much.
ate
Yeah,
way too much.
Drinking beer as well.
It was all quality.
I was drinking
Shots.
Aperol spritz.
We had some tequila, camel tequila,
camel milk,
camel milk,
vodka.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was great, man. Top quality. The beef brisket was like
Good.
Fuck, bro. Pork belly. Like,
What was actually probably the happiest part of my whole time there? I don't know how much I don't know if you chatted to a few of the people there, but they were talking Boris at one of our guests is now working at All Trades in regards to he's consulting and helping with I guess
Business sort of ethos and
Yeah.
principles to live
correct,
by. Or
yeah,
work by.
and helping them be better people as well, like helping them deal with their things because if they're better people, the company runs better. And one of the guys there was just like when he first come in, I was like, nah, this is bullshit. Fucking leave me out of it. And he was actually the ex CEO of West Farmers, so big fucking deal, bloke. And I was chatting to him, and he's like, I don't understand how a business runs without someone like Boris.
Wow.
That's a
Huge.
testament.
From
man.
West Farmers as well.
Yeah.
Who was that? What was his name?
He came towards the end. I don't know if you know the two other guys that came, the mentor of John's mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah, him.
Yeah, okay.
He's
I
like,
get
I
to
don't
meet him.
understand how people run a business without someone like Boris going in and just trying to make them a more harmonious company.
Well, culture is everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially within a business or within an organization. If you've got a terrible culture, you're not going to have a successful business.
Yeah.
I think it's plain as day.
100%.
But you got carried away at this?
Well,
Just
we
easy.
had a few early drinks.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
started at 12, and it was like a Beer Olympics vibe, and it was sick. I love that sort of.
It was great because
That.
it gives you fun. Like we were just beer pong, croquet.
Yeah.
Croquet was actually pretty fun, man.
Yeah, that was good because he made
Croquet.
it quite a little difficult course there.
Cornhole or whatever. That's
I actually haven't been drinking at all.
Yeah.
I didn't drink on Christmas Day. I didn't drink for New Year's.
How's that go?
I've never drank Christmas Day.
I enjoyed
It's
it.
interesting to me.
Yeah,
Everyone
I
does
enjoyed
that.
it. I'm not a very in moderation kind of guy. I've never really been able to, and it's just time to admit that that's who I am. Like I'll go, I'll just have a couple. Then I have a couple. Then my mentality changes because I've got a couple in me. Then I have too many. Then I might end up smoking weed, or I might end up doing some stupid shit. And I always like the anxiety at 37 is a real thing, man. And I always
Fuck, that anxiety is huge,
Sucks,
eh?
Yeah.
I just say things.
What is it?
I say things that I don't mean.
Yeah.
Because you're not. I don't agree with the doctrine that it's like alcohol brings out the truth in people. I don't think it does. Like the last time that I got really drunk and I got carried away doing beer pong. It's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah.
I said a bunch of stuff that I don't even believe, and I'm like, where did that come from? The next day when I had to like fess up to what I'd said.
Yeah.
With this person, I just like, why did I say that? I don't even
Yeah.
believe
I think
that.
because your inhibitions get switched off. Like
Yeah.
that's proven. But I don't know. I probably disagree with you on that point. I think that your truth does come out quite up because you feel a bit more comfortable and you're not afraid of how you're going to be perceived because you're drunk and you don't care. You kind of go, I'm going to bring this up or I'm going to say this, unless you don't remember if you were just trying to like stir the pot by purpose.
Yeah.
But there is a different kind of drunk where you see the eyes glaze over. I call
both
it
would
shark
happen.
eyes.
Both would happen. I reckon
Shark eyes for
both
me
would
is not a
happen.
real person. That's something else. That's like a trigger. But then there's, I think, when you get a
Tipsy.
bit tipsy or even a little bit looser, and you'll sort of you bring something up that you're too afraid to bring up when you're sober.
I think there's a few variables at play. Who's the person? How much have they drank? And what environment are they in? And what are they drinking as well? If I drink beer, I'm usually all right. If I start getting into the spirits, I can become extremely obnoxious. I am an aggravator. I'm trying because I'm a little bit rebellious by nature anyway. So if I what do you call it? If I expand on that, or if I have something to help me out with that, I'm like, hey, let's really try
Spirits
and get under
letting the
people's
bad
skin.
spirits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I do believe that I'm like this last year, I've like found God and started really establishing a relationship with God. And I feel that when the next day, like if I drink the next day, I just don't feel as connected or as in touch with that. And it is at the end of the day, and I'm not judging anybody that still wants to do it. Like I've only not been drinking for a few weeks, but I just don't want to feel like that anymore. I want to feel good. I don't want something poisoning my mind or my body. I always, even in prayer, I say, purify my mind. I want to be able to be full of wisdom and the best version of myself. And I just don't think alcohol is really serving me anymore. This is not to say I'll never drink again. I'm not, I'm not trying to like project too far into the future and make a promise that I can't keep, but I'm just really trying not to.
What is this? I don't want to call it a trend, but finding God. Because, like,
I think with the state of the world, how we were, and that you see so much happening, it's a swing back the other way.
because is it
But
a
it's not
thing
even-
where you're seeing it because you've started and it was always there? Like 360, who we've been chatting to a bit online, been.
So I've been talking to him a lot because we're in very similar positions with, you know, I guess finding our faith and strengthening our faith day by day. And it came out of left field for me. It's a long story and I'm sure we'll cover it, and you'll hear that in the music I'm writing, this album's really capturing like a transition phase for me. I always say all of my albums are capturing a chapter in my life. And this is
your trans.
I'm transitioning.
There's our first trans joke of the year. Yeah.
How long did it take? But it's captured all of my albums. I look back, and even if I'm like, oh, I'm not, because I critique the ability. Like I was like, oh, I'm better rapper than that now. But it's still, they all hold a special place in my heart in the sense that they captured what all of the chapters in our life are important.
100%.
So an important part of my life, and I can listen to it, remember where I was at, like not just physically, but remember where I was at spiritually and mentally. And this one has been, it's capturing. So there's stuff that I've experienced and learned sprinkled all the way through it. So I've not become a Christian rapper overnight, but there is like certain lines in there and certain realizations that I'm sharing because I'm always just talking about my own personal journey.
Isn't that because we've got the exact same thing in the form of a podcast and long form chat. Like you can hear, I'm sure if I went back and listened to maybe the way I thought in the first 10, 15 episodes, I might go, guy's a bit of a dickhead. But like maybe at the time that's who I was. It's kind of cool. Same with Delby.
There's growth. The's always growth.
I was going to say, you should feel like that. You're meant to feel like that. If you don't, that means you're probably the same person you were 10 years ago.
It kind of feels scary because then you're like, well, that's forever, that recorded conversation. So someone might only ever hear that one and think that's who you are. Same with your song.
Well, it's actually not the same because you guys are freestyling up here.
Yeah.
And I'm freestyling right now. We're freestyling our thoughts. We're like streaming consciousness basically. But with music, I sit there and I take stuff out, put stuff in and like I critique it as I go. By the time other people hear it, it's I'm ready for you to hear this.
Yeah.
Not like, I'm going to say something on the fly that I'm going to regret later. So it's actually more ballsy doing this. And stand-up comedy is like the pinnacle of that because it's just so raw. It's so like in the moment and raw. But
watching yourself back from years ago, fuck it. It's just like listening to an early album.
You got balls of steel, like getting up there and freestyling like that. I watch your stuff sometimes. I'm like, I just could not do that. So I'll take my hat off to you. But going back to your question, I just think that I think Delby kind of hit the nail on the head. Is that there's so much evil in the world lately, and because of social media and how interconnected we all are now, it's being shown to us and it's in our face. But I've always said that when there is a rise in something, there is a rise in the opposite. We live in a world of polarity, and I just believe that because there's so much evil and division and antipathy and hatred being shoved in our face, people will look for a solution naturally. People are discovering that as materialism rises and it's not nourishing their soul, that this is what happened to me, that I went, there has to be something else. There has to be something else. I was in Bali with my family in March and I'm sitting there at breakfast and I'm like, I'm surrounded by beauty. I'm surrounded by my beautiful wife, my beautiful children, and like surrounded by nature, and it was beautiful. And I'm in Bali and I still felt empty. I still felt my depression. I've suffered with depression for years. And I'm like, why? And I was just low. And I'm like, why here? Why is this attacking me here? Am I never safe from this? Like, this is the ideal situation. And I just have this low feeling for no reason whatsoever. Yeah. And then I'm just sitting there quiet. My wife's like, you all right? And I was like, yeah, all good. Because you got to pretend to be all right. And then she said, well, let's go back to the hotel. We'll have a swim and just chill out today. And I said, you guys go, because I'd just been on my phone, it shouldn't be, but I was on my phone and I saw a reel and it was from young Sheldon. And he's sitting there with his mum and he's questioning why she doesn't believe in God. And have you seen this?
Yeah, it's a great one.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And it had that song behind it that was on all the reels for ages, that Oceans. And it had that behind it. And that song just gives me, I've got goosebumps. Look at that, I told you. And so it said that's behind it, and then he's saying, like, you do realize that if, from a scientific perspective, because it's Sheldon, if there was 1% or less than 1% less gravity, that the world would collapse in on itself, and if there was 1% more gravity, it would fall apart, or the other way around. I can't remember.
And then there's defying gravity, which is wicked. We're all holding space.
And I just found that, like, and I read a quote.
And the chances that she could be his mum at this exact
perfect
point
mum.
are near to impossible.
Yeah,
Everything's
and it
perfect.
it just like hit me in the chest. And I read something else recently. I'll come back to that, but it said that if you read a little bit about science, you'll deny God. But if you learn enough about science, you'll know that there has to be a God.
Yeah,
because there's order of perfection. There is an order at play, and then it insinuates that there is some kind of intelligent being that has created all of this. Like if
it always comes back to intelligent design.
Order by design. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you. So if we were a little bit closer to the sun, would life exist on Earth?
If the moon was the tiny bit further away, we have no tides.
Well, we know the moon's
Everything is. The moon is a big ball of steel put there by NASA.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's true, man.
It's
the more you
almost
look
too
deeper, you're
perfect.
like, it can't. How?
Yeah,
Because science can give you every single answer except for one miracle.
But one.
One miracle at the start, the Big Bang.
Yes.
You give us that one miracle at the start, and everything else is explainable by
If
science.
we were a simulation, we just got turned on.
I think it's similar to my thoughts of the like ever expanding and contracting. Yeah, like what would you call it? Like creation and
Destruction.
Yeah.
just
Well,
consistently.
that thing that you read, like I thought that was quite amazing. I really liked that, but it was hard for me to just sit there and go. I just felt guilty. I was like, why? This is my family. I love them so much, and I still feel this, and I felt guilty for it, but I couldn't help but feel it. Like, I'm not going to feel guilty anymore for something that I'm feeling because I can't help but feel it. I'm not choosing to feel it. Anyway, I said, you guys go. So that song played, and I'm like, what is this song? Why am I hearing this everywhere? I love it.
Yeah.
And I went to look for it, found it on YouTube, and there's this lady on stage. I forget her name now, pardon me, and then there's all these people in the crowd, thousands of people with their hands up like this. Hillsong, thank you. But her name's Taya.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I thought it was powerful, and I got shivers again. I said, "You guys go. I'm gonna go for a walk." And I thought, I'm walking around listening to this song in Bali, and I'm just like welling up. And I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna go and sit on the beach, and I'm not leaving that beach until I feel better, until I figured out what's going on. So I went and sat on this beach. I'm listening to this song on repeat, and it's just like hitting me hard. And then I'm like, I took the headphones off. I'm like, well, now I'm going to sit here in silence until I figure this out. And I'm not leaving this beach until I do. I'm not going back to my family until I have some kind of clarity as to what is going on for me, because psychologists, antidepressants, like diets, nothing was working for me. Nothing like filled that void that I've always had. I always say that there's some people that wrestle with the idea of, I guess, curiosity, and some people that just are happy just like not knowing and they don't care. But to me, that was creating this like overwhelming and debilitating sense of nihilism that I just couldn't live with anymore. I'm like, I just need to know that there's a purpose, that there's more to this fleshy, temporary world. Do you know what I mean? So, and I've just always wrestled with the why. Like, we know who we are, where we are, when we're living, but there's that why that none of us will ever know. And I don't think we're meant to fully grasp it and comprehend it. I don't think our brains even can. But I've wrestled with that. Some people don't. Well, great for you, but I do. And I've always been shamed out of it. Like, people are like, why do you care? Who cares? And like I guess promoting nihilism, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to hide from the fact that I need to seek this anymore. So I'm sitting on this beach and it's dead quiet. I found this beautiful little spot by myself, and then it just started falling out of me. It was like I wasn't even talking. I'm like, I give up. I surrender, because I used to believe
That's
in
exactly what I said on my mushroom trip when I met God.
I
The
surrender.
same words, I surrender.
And that's the same words
So
I
weird.
said as well.
And it came
I'm like,
naturally to
Yeah. I've never spoken like that before.
The
ever.
funny thing is, about after this conversation that I had.
What else were you saying? Sorry, I cut you off
That's all
there.
right. I just said, I cannot do this anymore. So if you are there and if you can hear me, I need you to take over. I trust that I have to trust in you, because I don't trust in me anymore. I don't trust whatever's going on in here that is out of my control. Just take the wheel, man, and I'll jump in the passenger seat and just take me for a ride, and let's see what happens, because I cannot. And I've felt this like, man, I can't even explain it. I felt this like, I became really light. I feel like I'm going to cry. I became really, really light for the first time in a long time, like almost instantly.
Yeah.
And I'm just sobbing. And I don't even know why. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And then eventually I stood up, I put them headphones back on, and I just started walking down the beach. And it was like a mushroom trip. It was like everything was moving in slow motion. And I saw people, and I didn't see myself as separate to them in that moment. I'm not saying that this moment continued.
Yeah.
but I just didn't feel. I was like, they're just like me. They feel all the same emotions as me. They feel the same like lack of self-esteem that I feel in my vulnerable moments. And I was just like crying, but I'm not sad anymore. I'm like crying with happiness and joy. And then I'm like, even these dogs were chasing. There's two dogs chasing each other, and I just stood there staring at them for ages, just like watching these two dogs experience joy. I'm like, even dogs and animals can experience like a level of joy, and I don't know, everything just like kind of just
Connection.
started cascading down upon me like a feeling of this makes sense finally. And I went back and I just hugged Hannah and I hugged my children, and it all just kind of fell out from there. And then I picked up the Quran after that, believe it or not.
Wow.
And I got about 10 pages in. I was like, this ain't it, dog.
Yeah.
This ain't it for me. I put that away. Next was the Bible. And then I'm like towards the end of the New Testament, and it's hitting me between the eyes, and I cannot help it. I can't put it, I say I can't put it down, but I need to make more time I should be further, to be honest with you. But I started at the New Testament because I was like, cool, I have an understanding of what God could potentially be because of that Sheldon stuff. That made me believe that I was like, no, there is a God. I believe there is a God. But what's the deal with this Jesus guy?
Yeah.
Like, I want to learn more about Jesus Christ and the story of Christ and just see what happens. And I didn't put that down like I did the Quran. No, I just kept going.
Was that because Quran was in Arabic and you couldn't read it?
No, it was an English version. Just pretending to read it.
yeah. It's interesting that whole, because like I was thinking about this the other day because I guess refining it to one religion, like it has to be Christianity, feels very restrictive.
It doesn't feel godly to me.
I agree,
Yeah.
but potentially that's a truer version of events, potentially, or whatever appeals to you. In my head, Jesus was that human embodiment of what God represents, or had like an attachment to source consciousness or something along those lines.
Or maybe he was living constantly that moment that you felt on the beach, or that moment that I felt.
Correct.
He's probably in that state of constant
and
godliness.
Buddha, like I have the same feelings about him as this human that just developed that attachment to self, or that ability to tap into source consciousness. And I think and that source consciousness comes from a point, like a single point of existence, and I don't know what that is, and I'm not going to try to understand it. I don't think that's my role. I don't think that's any of our roles to understand what God or source consciousness or the universe.
We can. And that's the thing. I haven't found. It's not that I'm seeking. I know I'm not going to get to a place where I'm like, cool, I know what God is now. Like, unless I have one of them experiences when you see people that say they encounter God or they see Jesus or whatever, I'm not sure I'm going to have that.
It sounds like you did. I think that moment was finding source.
Yeah, I
the
think
fact you were looking at someone and you're saying, I surrender. I feel like that's you just saying, I surrender to whatever God is, the source, realizing we're all one, we're all connected, we're all from that same place.
But it was like I felt him when I said grab the wheel, it was like I felt him grab the wheel, and he was like, we're going to walk across this beach and I'm going to show you a feeling I'm 37 years old. In 37 years, you've never felt this feeling. I'm going to give it to you for a small moment in time. And I feel that going back to your question about which religion and stuff like that, I guess it's. I think it was Russell Brand said he believes that all religions are true in the sense that they're an attempt to explain the unknown and the unknowable. And I really liked that. But I personally subscribe to Christianity from here going forward. And I don't even say I'm a Christian. I'm just a follower of Jesus Christ and the things that he said and the life that he lived. And I believe it. And a lot of people say it's unbelievable, and I get that. I understand it is unbelievable. That's why Christians wrestle with faith. They say that all the time because there's days where you feel it and there's days that you don't, and the days that you don't, you start questioning, like, should this really happen? But when I thought about it, I was like, if I say you're God, and if I was God, would I want to come down to be on earth so that people understood me and so that I could understand them? And would I not take form in the shape of a human being? And if the story is unbelievable, isn't it meant to be? Because that's why we have free will, and that's why it's called faith. Because if it was a very straightforward, believable story, we would all just believe Christianity, wouldn't we? We would all just believe in Jesus Christ and his story. It's almost like he made it to be unbelievable so that it's like, I'm going to make this so unbelievable so that you would have to have a really strong amount of faith in me to be able to subscribe to this. And it is taking a lot. And there are days and moments, and I'm not even in a position yet where I have a strong enough foundation to argue the case. Like if a really strong atheist who has been like centered in their atheism for a long time came to me, they could probably pull me apart. I'm somewhat confident. I grow more confident by the day, the more I'm like obtaining more knowledge, but I'm not confident in that enough yet. And so I'm not going to be some evangelist on the street preaching the gospel.
Yeah. But even still, it shouldn't be about that. It shouldn't be about you got to prove to me
Correct.
and I've got to prove to you there's a God. It should just be like,
This is what I
if this
believe.
makes you happy and you're a better person, awesome.
Absolutely.
There's no onus on you to prove to me that your God is real. If you feel joy and you feel God and you feel connected,
All the power
and you're
to
not
you.
doing any harm to anyone,
That's
who
incredible.
gives a
dude.
fuck?
All the power to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that atheists always say, and nothing against them, but they should be aware of this. And I used to be like this. Don't shove it down my throat. Don't push your Christianity onto me. And I won't, because I need to focus on my own relationship and my own journey first.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I never will, but I also, there's two different things there. There's pushing it on people, and then there's just I'm not going to be quiet about my faith. I'm going to own it, and I'm going to be bold with it. I'm not going to just do all this stuff in secret, because I'm proud of what it's doing for me. I know the effect it's having for me, and people can hear what I have to say and subscribe to it or not. I don't care. It's my journey for the time being, but I'm not going to push it on my beliefs on you if you don't push your atheism on me.
You're not even going
because
to
there's
push
no
a bit of
use.
belief?
Not even a bit of belief. Not even if they ask for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it should be, because if you found something that works for you, just like we've said on the pod, and Branchy's changed his opinions over time, where he was saying, if you want to be happy, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's like,
Correct.
no, I found that this works for me. If you want to give it a shot, I'm here to help you. This is XYZ has happened to me, and I felt, ABC because of it. I think I find my any issue I ever have with strong religious is when it causes wars.
Yes.
And it's not even the religion, it's the people that run the church of it.
Yes.
It's the humanization and the
It's
and
not the actual
the
religion.
commodification of religion,
Yeah.
which really it rubs me the wrong way. Like
The interpretation of it to say that my God is best.
yeah, and even like tax breaks for churches that then become, they own all this land and it becomes a business, and then you see the fucking South America, the deep South evangelists with the fucking $1 trillion houses and the Lamborghinis, and they're like, God wants me to be rich because it gives me the power to share my message. It's like, no, you are just an evil fucking
Yeah.
He says to share your
Well,
riches.
yeah.
Share your riches
Exactly.
with the poor. And the other thing is that these are all ways of the human being. These things are not in line with what Jesus Christ wanted for people.
No.
If you truly believe, then you are not. And it says to be careful of false prophets. There are people out there, and that's the absolute epitome of blasphemy. It's not just saying, "Oh, Jesus Christ," or "for God's sake" and stuff. That's not blasphemy. Blasphemy is using God's name to carry out what is the opposite or the antithesis of His works. That is the pinnacle of blasphemy. And so I agree with what you're saying, but I think I use the analogy of a hammer. If you give a hammer to a builder, he might build his daughter a tree house. If you give it to a psychopath, he's likely going to hurt somebody with it. So it's not the religion, it's the person.
Yeah.
Just like there's plumbers that could be murderers, but there's plumbers that could be, foster parents. Like, do you know what I mean? It's got nothing to do with the fact that they're a plumber. It's to do with the fact that they're human and they're flawed, and there's some kind of evil moving through them.
Yeah.
And sometimes evil will, because there's two things that evil hates. Evil hates the church and the relationship with God, and evil hates love. So it attacks the marriage as well. It is after love. It is trying to break it. That's why you see these people like the lefties and the liberals in America trying to rip apart families by introducing their I don't know, demonic
fake ideals,
values.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like rip apart family. So that's what I believe.
And I'm of the ideas that Jesus, for example, is that human version, but I truly believe in civilizations all around the universe, and they'd all have their embodiment of a God.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
there's always a thread of truth through every religion, a thread
Yeah.
of truth in all the stories, a thread of truth in the people. I think the thing that you got to be careful of is with Christianity, it's been changed that many times by kings and humans,
correct,
and they've
yeah.
rewritten it to suit them.
Which is why
over
the word
over
of
them.
Jesus itself is. That's why I think that's what I've fallen in that category.
Well,
his teachings, his words, not necessarily what the church wants you to do.
Well, there's two tough things there. Is that Jesus spoke in very roundabout ways. He wasn't direct very often. He spoke in parables.
Yes.
And as a woman, I'm fine. Are you, Jesus?
But that used to frustrate me. But now I kind of like it and I understand it. But there's
Well, if he gave you the answer, then where's
exactly
there
right.
for growth or learning or...
But there's also, he'll give you a parable, and the good thing about it is it might be applicable to different areas of. So I might go, oh, I'm going to interpret that like this, and someone else might go, I'm going to interpret that like that. And as long as it's turned into a force of positive and is going to help people, then great. But if not, then.
Well,
but the King. So to go back to the question about the different Bibles, is it was obviously originally written in Hebrew, and he spoke in Aramaic, and then it has to be. He wanted his word to get out to people. So there's the King James version, you're right. And then there's the NIV version, which is what I'm reading, because I tried to read the King James version, and it's
all about the Lakers.
weareth, haveth, the way they spoke, which is really hard to digest. So they're not changing the content or what's being said. They're just changing the way that it's, because he obviously didn't speak the language, and that's when things become a little bit hairy and a little bit open to interpretation. But they've had scholars or people that are experts in that field say that this is a close as a translation as you can get between this Hebrew version to this King James version to this NIV version. So,
Have you seen there's a Cockney Bible?
No.
It's been written in Cockney.
has it really?
Yeah, bro. It's pretty hectic. I'll see if I can find an example as we...
The 60's going through a similar thing, so you'll probably have a similar discussion.
Yeah,
with him.
he was talking about, and he said that he's lost a lot of followers because of it.
You will.
And I'm sure we might lose followers talking about it on this, but then we'll gain followers. But like it's
It's an objective conversation.
correct, and it's more authentic. Like this is what we're going through currently. Who knows? In 5 years' time, we go, "Whoa, remember when we believed in God and Jesus?"
I would, if you'd asked me a year ago, I wouldn't be sitting. I was like, why would I be sitting there saying that stuff? You just never.
I just think it's very interesting. Like
It's very
It's
interesting.
just very interesting. I'm very curious about it all. I might get to the end of it and go, nah.
But and that's the funniest thing is we say don't judge a book by its cover. If there's one book out there that's judged by its cover, it's that one.
Yeah.
And do you know what the funny thing was? This is where I decided to go, oh, well, I need to look into this, because I thought the Old Testament and then the New Testament, I always had this belief of, I'm not reading that book. They just, I thought the Old Testament and then they just rewrote his story. And I was like, nah, but it's like Old Testament before him, New Testament after. So that's why I started at the New Testament.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is the Lord's Prayer in Cockney.
Okay, go on.
Hello, Dad, up there in good old heaven. Your name is well, great and holy, and we respect you, Gov. We hope we can all have a butcher's at heaven and be there as soon as possible, and we want to make you happy, Gov. And what do you want here on earth? Just like what you do in heaven.
In the accent, can you imagine that?
Hello, Dad, up there in good old heaven. Your name is well, great and holy, and we respect you, Gov. We hope you can all have a butcher's at heaven.
And even in church, like I love going to church.
You go with JT
you've
now?
been going to
I'm
church?
going with JT. And it was JT that kind of reached out to me and brought me to his church.
Yeah.
So, and me and Jared talk about this stuff a lot. He's helping me a lot. He's actually quite knowledgeable. And
Yeah, he's been going to church since we're kids.
Yeah.
even his brother came with us not long ago.
Oh,
He's
yeah?
Really?
He's got Ryan coming now. So, and he's got another one of his mates. He goes, one of my mates is coming. This guy, he's a legend. He's a cool dude, but he's not what I pictured. Like we're all in that. You should see our row in church. We're like covered in tats. We're like, it's funny, but you don't feel any. No one's looking at you sideways. No one cares. Everyone's there to praise and worship God.
I'm seeing, and I don't know what it is. It could be that that part of the brain, the red car. What's that called?
Oh yeah,
The reticulation.
The reticular activating system in the brain.
RAS,
It could be that. I've started going down this path, so I start to see it everywhere. Maybe,
Of
maybe.
course, yeah.
But
I just think that with everything that's been happening and the UFO and then the demons and the Miami thing, and then it's a lot's happening that is of biblical nature. And then you see Tucker Carlson say that the Christians are the ones that have had it right the whole time from what he's learned from his investigative journalism.
Yeah.
And Alex Jones.
See, I'm not going to be
interesting.
so bold to say that, but like, yeah, you're right. There definitely seems to be, I guess, for lack of a better term, a trend, and there has to be a reason for that. If you believe what I believe, then you would know that there is something going on greater than this. How arrogant of us to think that the limited realm of the five senses is the be all and end all of what is going on. Like there's like these five gateways into our reality that kind of depict what we think is to be everything is just, it's insane to believe that that's the be all and end all of what is going on. So I believe there is evil and good forces going on in the world. And if you stand back, sometimes you can see it play out. And so I feel like there is definitely a spiritual warfare happening at the moment. And it's in politics, and the epitome of it is happening in America right now.
You can see it obviously in very simplistic terms with dogs. They can see certain fractions and frequencies of light and sound
hear whistles that we can't.
Yes. So that we know that there are things that is UV light that we can't see. Those sorts of
all
things.
frequencies.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even think there's evil. I just think that there are people that have made choices from free will that have over time become lower and lower frequencies. And that's been stuck in place. If you believe sort of what I believe, I don't think, because I think if God is, I think God is real. And if God and Source created everything, he wouldn't have created an evil per se. It would have just been the opportunity to get back to light, and some have made the wrong decisions, and over millennia that negative energy has been trapped and festered.
Going back to what I was saying before, that we live in a world of polarity where there has to be an opposite to everything. So without hot, there is no cold. Without up, there is no down. And I believe that when there is evil in this world, it's just a lack of the presence of God.
Good,
In this dimensional reality.
Yes.
There's polarity and
Correct.
duality.
Because it's almost like it's not even polarity. Like without hot, there's cold. Well, cold is just hot is the absence of cold.
Correct.
So it's not like opposites. It's just when one isn't.
They're one of the same.
That's why when people question suffering, it's like, well, joy is the absence of suffering, and suffering is the absence of joy. So if there was no suffering and there was no hardships that we endure in this world, how would we even know what joy is? How would we even know what that feels like? There has to be an opposite in order for us to have a basis of comparison to know what that is.
And that's that idea of like when you ask God for strength, and then instead of giving you strength, gives you a problem to overcome.
Or an opportunity.
And I really had that misconstrued at the start. I was like, because I struggle with patience and tolerance. And I'm like, God, give me strength. God, give me tolerance. God, give me wisdom and the ability to be able to see things clearly and act appropriately in them moments. And at the start, I was like, why is he not making me more patient?
I'm making it worse.
Yeah. I've got a 2.5-year-old and I'm an idiot. I went and bought a puppy at the same time. So it's a nightmare.
Well, there you go. He gave you an opportunity to show patience.
I think he
with
did.
a 2-year-old and a puppy.
So every day I'm just like, and I still find myself going to respond out of impatience and stuff, but I'm like, I know what's going on here. I need to try and cultivate that in that moment. And it's still hard.
Well, it's all your choice of how you react to anything, man.
Correct.
It all comes down to how you choose to react. And if you've got a good teacher, which could be your church, could be your mate, could be a puppy,
just a mentor.
You're choosing how you respond to that situation. You can choose to suffer, or you can choose to get out of that suffering, which is just resilience, which I would love to have a church of resilience.
Anybody close to me that tells you that it's not, and that's the other thing. I see sometimes people's testimonies are, it changed me overnight. I've definitely felt something within a second on that beach, the second I surrendered, but it hasn't changed me overnight. He hasn't done work on me. He's working on me. That's the way I look at it. And anybody that's close enough to me to know me well enough that tells you that it isn't changing me is lying to you, because it is.
And I think the end goal, not the end goal, but I feel like a part of this awakening or this trend is to move out of that duality, to move into a dimensional reality in which we don't suffer the duality of suffering and joy, where it just is, which is the next level up of the fifth dimensional.
Correct.
That's my own little thoughts, and I'm sure a lot of other people believe that sort of thought, but I feel like at the moment we live in a reality of duality. That's a nice little thing.
So that's the name of your album.
Yeah, there you go, reality of duality, and we're striving to raise the frequency of the planet to move out of that so we can live in a more harmonious sort of frequency of living.
Oh, there we
They're
go.
onto us. They're onto us.
See what happens when you preach about God.
Which is why I think you feel that anxiety, to go all the way back to your question, why do we have that anxiety? It's because you're moving out of that higher frequency. And it's weird that you mentioned that, because I was having a bit of anxiety after having just a drink. And I really enjoy myself trying to make people laugh, but sometimes it can get too much with too many puns. And I'm having a real good time. I'm trying to make everyone laugh.
You're much better at that, by the way.
Well, that's been a growth over the journey. But then I'm like, the next day, I'm like, fuck, man, was I being annoying? Like, all I had was pure intentions. But then I'm like, you just think, oh my God, like that would have been so annoying. I know I was having fun, but was it at the expense of other people's joy?
But you got to know that people can pick up on your good-heartedness when they talk to you. Like Grace, for example, she's like, he's a good person.
Oh, that's nice.
That was like
Amazing Grace.
Yeah, so she just we were just sitting there and she's like, he is a good person. Like I can feel it.
Oh,
within
nice.
him.
That was just from a little car ride.
Yeah, literally. And she's like, I know that it's you, and I can feel it when you meet someone, you're like, oh, that is a good person.
Yes.
They have good intentions. I think that's all. That's like a
intuition.
Gut. It's a gut feeling, and you can pick up on it. Yeah. And whether or not you are being annoying or fucking I'm being arrogant or you're fucking pushing your God stuff, if you got the best intentions, people can feel it.
And that's the thing. We always see the action, but we never, because the action is like a palpable, tangible thing. You're like, I can see and feel or hear what this person's doing, but you can never see or know for sure somebody's intention. That's where intuition comes into it. And that's where, going back to what I was saying before, that's why it helps with the whole judgment side of things. And a relationship with God and Jesus is helping me understand and be less judgmental, because when I see people doing things that I don't agree with or that I perceive as bad, for lack of a better term, that I go, that's not that person doing that. There's something greater going on a spiritual level, where because I know that I have in the past been used as a vehicle to do evil work. So, and I feel like the more I'm partaking in, decisions that are no good for me and aren't nourishing my soul, the more I become a vehicle to act out that evil. That's why people that are very drug affected or very drunk, or they'll start acting out evil and doing bad things. Or you see people in the street that look like they're possessed by devils. It's drug use, but it's probably
something
both.
else.
On a fleshy level, it's drug use. On a spiritual level, they are possessed by an evil force.
Because drug use is not a negative thing. I don't think everything in moderation is completely fine. It just comes down to the human behind it and what they're trying to mask, or the trauma. Because if alcohol was that bad, Jesus wouldn't have turned wine from water.
Yeah.
So if Jesus is even going, hey, let's have a good time, it just comes down to
that's why
how much you're affecting.
And again, like alcohol, perfect example. Me and Grace were like, I'm just sick of feeling drunk. I don't mind having a couple of drinks, and whether that means those 4 days that I've given myself a month where I can have a drink, whether it's one wine or 10, like I don't think I'm going to very often have the 10. I think if it's 4 days and I go, I'm having wine with dinner, I'm going to have 3 beers with my mates. That's it. I very rarely want to get drunk.
I think the older you get as well, the harder it is to metabolize, and you just feel gluggy. Like
big point as well.
The most I've drank in the last year was the Christmas break, Boxing Day. Had a boat party, so I was drinking from 9 till 9 till 10, and then 2 days later I had a boat. An hour, 9 a.m. till 10 p.m.
Very responsible of you, Daniel.
Now I got kicked out of Port Beach because I spilled a drink and the security kicked me out, which meant my phone fell out my pocket. And I'm like, mate, my phone's gone. Can you just ask? And he's like, you need to leave now. I'm like, bro, I can't leave. I don't have a phone. He goes, I've asked you to fucking leave. I'm like, you're a fucking retard cunt. How can I fucking leave? And some girl ordered me an Uber, got home without my phone.
Oh, no.
Then a friend came around, called my phone.
Yeah.
A French chick found it, so she drove me back. Got it. But, full day drinking there. 2 days later, full day drinking. 2 days later, we got New Year's Eve wild camp out, which is 2 days of drinking. I haven't drank that much, and you just feel the next day you're like,
But then I found myself constantly chasing, because it's so temporary. You have to do it. Like, I'm trying to find like a sense of peace or a sense of happiness that I can just find whenever and wherever I want without having to take anything. And again, this is not judging anybody. Like, people do your thing, but like for me personally, I found myself in this constant loop of chasing temporary fixes or temporary solutions, and it just stopped working.
Temporary, yeah.
So temporary. And then that's why you hair of the dog it, don't you? Because you're like, you wake or people use drugs, and you see people go on meth benders because they don't want it to end. They're like, I know what's waiting for me if I stop, and it's feeling low and feeling horrible. Yeah. So I just don't want to have to chase.
Have you done ayahuasca yet? Would you do that to try?
I've never done
reconnect with
ayahuasca.
God?
No, I've done mushrooms and DMT at the same time, actually, and things of that nature. Never ayahuasca, but yeah, absolutely, I would.
That might be cool.
Absolutely, I would.
I'm definitely going to go down that path, but when it feels
when the calling's
Scary,
there.
isn't it? I don't know what about it scares me. I don't know what about
Yeah,
it scares
I
me.
think because you might have to face some of your own demons that you haven't dealt with properly. I think that's the scary thing about ayahuasca. Everyone's like, yeah, it's this great thing, but also it is probably going to change you forever. And it's
Good,
going to,
Yeah.
it's going to give you a sense of lack of control and then facing real shit that you don't. I'm scared to do it because I don't want to change my career or like, you know, if it shows me something where I stop doing comedy or I stop.
Doesn't that show you that you
Could lead
love
you
it
to
though as
something
well?
better.
Doesn't
Yeah.
that show how much you love it? That's instantly, that's a thing of like, I don't want that to change.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I guess if you are wanting to be ultimately happy and it shows you that this part of life isn't
You just got to surrender.
servicing you. Yeah.
guess.
So
Comedy
maybe
is so important. It's so important because you're spreading joy. Like you said before, your intention is to make
Providing
people
the service,
laugh.
yeah.
I think Jim Carrey said it. His dad was a really, really funny guy, which is obviously where he got it from. Never really did anything with it. And he said, from now on, I'm going to be like this mobile church to free people from suffering, which is just, if while you're around me, you're not going to worry about your suffering because you're going to be laughing. That's my intention. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. I can't think of anything more beautiful. And that's what started my like extreme disdain for cancel culture. Because I was like, you guys are trying to stop people laughing.
Yeah.
You're trying to take life too seriously. These people are just trying to spread joy. They're trying to make fun of everything. Nothing is safe, and nothing should be safe. Because you want equality, then you should be just as vulnerable to jokes as blacks or non-gays or this. Everybody should be able to be made fun of. And because it's a joke, it's a joke. That's why it's called a joke.
Yes.
It's like they're
Make
trying
a
to
joke.
cancel Jimmy Carr because he teased the deaf woman.
Really?
She went to
that
a
happening
Jimmy
now?
Carr concert
Oh my God.
and was like,
How does she know?
Well, that's exactly what he said. The joke was, you can say anything you wanted about deaf people and it's fine because they don't hear you. And it came up on the teleprompter and she was like, I can't believe he would offend me. It's like, you went to Jimmy Carr.
Yeah.
You went to Jimmy Carr, who is known for doing that.
Yeah.
And you've sat there and then you get picked on and you're like, no, it's not fine because you get hurt.
I had a moment where I had to check myself. I went to one of the at the Comedy Lounge, one of the ones that you guys were doing, and it was great. But you might remember the thing. Actually, we might have spoken about it on here before, so I'll make it snappy. But I said to Hannah, we're going in here. You know how I feel about cancel culture. It's going to be ruthless. There's going to be jokes. They might be sexist. They might be racist. We just got to deal with it. We're here to laugh. We get in there. It wasn't even long after Kobe Bryant had just passed away, and old mate said something about Mark McGowan had a hard border, something like Kobe's charred daughter. And I felt this like thing within me just filled with rage because I'm a massive Kobe Bryant fan. And I was like, I needed to go outside for a cigarette. I was smoking at the time. I'm having this cigarette and I'm pacing.
tribute?
I'm pissed.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jeez Louise.
He's welling up again.
Yeah. And I had to really check myself. Or Hannah checked me. I can't remember. But I was like, I'm one of them people right now. Get yourself in check. Go to a comedy show. Rub it off. Get back in there. So, like nothing should be safe. Nothing should be too soon.
I love that.
Otherwise, because if you want to introduce boundaries, it's like, well, whose boundaries?
Yes.
It's like with this whole, I guess, taking offense thing, or like, it's like, well, who's the or the controlling of speech?
Exactly.
It's like hate speech. Well, it's hate speech. I'm like, whose definition of hate speech? Who are you to define
I
it?
think everybody knows morally and within them where the line is. And like Ed Byrne said when he came on, the skill of being a good comedian is knowing where the line is and being able to put your toe over the line and everybody's on board. Yeah. That makes you a good craft at your skill. If you try and tell a joke and it fails, then if someone's offended, fine. But it means you're a shit comic because you haven't figured out how to creep over that line
Safely.
which is safely, yeah.
And Ricky Gervais says, just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right.
That's right.
It just seems so immature and pathetic and so
It's just
sensitive.
weak, man. It's
weak.
literally
It's weak.
the way that our next generation has been
Toughen
brought
up.
up, and it's our fault because our age are the ones that are the parents. There's no resilience. It's literally, have you seen that clip where they're at uni and someone's like, I just need everybody to stop whispering and talking because it really, I can't focus. Triggers my anxiety, can't focus. Then someone gets up and goes, can we not use pronoun-specific language, gender language? And it's
Where does it stop? Where does it stop?
It can't. You can't have the small minority affecting how the rest of us live.
It was like the misinformation bill as well. I'm like, whose definition is misinformation?
Yeah.
Oh, the government's. Oh, the government. Oh, how like convenient that it's the government gets to decide what's misinformation and what is not. What about the misinformation that we see on mainstream media on the news every night? Anyone going to be held accountable for that?
Nope.
No, and well, they're the ones who were not accountable. Mainstream news and the government. Themselves.
Which is fucked because government are meant to represent the people. I've been saying lately, they're so disconnected from the people. They're not a representation of us anymore.
So fortunately that didn't pass, but the fact that they're trying to pass it, and we'll try again.
They'll try again.
Any information should just be countered with more information, or like if there's a hate speech, put out some love speech and let those people that have listened to that hate speech hear the opposite to it and let them decide. We're fucking adults. Stop telling us how to think.
And dialogue.
And that's where the religion, I think, is coming in and why people are finding God, because you're seeing all this evil and like control.
Because the government are trying to play God. That's why. The government are trying to play God, and they're trying to control us. And a society that is weak is a society that's easy to control. So they're trying to weaken us. And how do you weaken people? You pull apart the family household. They're trying to like come for marriage, and they're trying to. And that's why I say that it's like evil forces, or the devil, for lack of a better term, taking shape in the fleshy world to come and do that work.
They probably don't even realize, man. These people probably think they're doing the right thing. Have you
ever looked into Kamala Harris's eyes? She's dead inside. She knows what she's doing.
Like a doll's eyes. It feels the last desperate attempt to just fuck shit up. They've done like whoever the elite, the cabal has just realized they're done.
Kabbalah?
The funny thing is, the harder they push against it, the more it encourages, because what they're doing is they're exposing how vulnerable they are by it. Like the government must hate the internet. They must be going, oh, we didn't see this coming. We didn't know people were going to use it to like, and what really kind of brought that to the forefront was COVID. I think they were like, oh no, these guys are all talking amongst themselves and figuring stuff out and spreading this information, not misinformation, amongst themselves. They've got us. They've got us cornered. Do you know what I mean?
If COVID was planned and a deliberate attempt to fuck society and get more control, it has backfired, I think. Bigly.
And I actually, this is why, even though it's horrific, what happened, I hated COVID. I think it needed to happen.
Wasn't there a prediction of end of the world in 2012 or like 2021
2012, they had the
it was 2000
and was there a 2020? Was there something for 2020? Someone predicted
2020,
because really that could have been
so 2020 December 21st in 2020 they had the it was an alignment
which was roughly when COVID started.
Memory the portal,
because it was the beginning of 2021 with Fringe.
And I remember sitting there thinking, like, I had already gone down this path. I was already in this, and I was like, we're on this awakening path. And then what the fuck? What is this? Now, in hindsight, I look back at COVID and go, this was the greatest blessing that the world has ever been gifted, because it has awoken so many people. And everyone is on the path of self-discovery. They've started to learn about themselves. They've started to understand how the world is controlled by a very small elite. And
But I still think if there was something happen again, I still think society would do the same thing.
But less and less people. And so I agree with you 100%. Not 100%. I agree with you for the most part. There's two things that I hated about it. Number one, that I folded and I had them too.
Same.
I wrestle with that all the time. I feel like dirty. I'm like, why did you do that? You should have just held out. But everyone was full of so much fear. I wasn't scared of COVID. I was scared of like I just had a newborn, bro. My wife couldn't work. I needed to. I had to ask myself, would you die for your family? Yes. So whatever's in this thing, put it in me so I can provide for my family, and just like leave me alone after that. And then there was another one. And then the booster, I called it at the booster. I said, nah, I'm done. I'm not doing your third shot.
But even back then, like even me being part of this, you still hear stuff and you're like, oh yeah, it's probably true. But then you get so much overwhelming on the other side. You're like, fuck, I don't know where it is. It can't be that horrific.
Well, you did yours more for a selfless reason because you didn't want to let other people down. You had shows with other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I had with,
And you were
Mac
willing to do
Shane.
your shows
Yeah.
at
Again,
smaller
in-
venues
yeah.
and different venues that would have
I changed everything.
Intention.
Yeah.
So when I'm beating myself up, I try to remember you did that for your family. But if I'm being honest with you, I don't think I've ever been the same energy wise. Like I'm,
Yeah, same. I
I'm
feel
low
like
energy
low
all the time.
Ever since then, I've always said I
Tired.
felt fatigued.
Always tired.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds tinfoil hat and stuff like that, but I know my body better
Yeah.
than anybody, and I know that I don't bounce out of bed the way that I used to. I don't. That's
I used
why
to
I'm
be able
trying
to have 50,000 things going on. Now I can only have 40,000. But I literally feel that, man. Yeah.
And the other thing is that I saw Jordan Peterson explain it once from a psychological standpoint, and it was that the government are going to, if you want to control people or if you want to implement, like massive controls, so what they do from a psychological standpoint is they push the boundaries, push the boundaries, push the boundaries. People revolt. People revolt. They stop. This becomes the new norm. Push the boundaries, push the boundaries, push the boundaries. People revolt. Stop. And then they just keep doing that. So it's like, what's next?
it's like, Turning it to
know,
camera.
it's like-
yeah, we're going to push. No man's a woman.
But what I found funny is
what
that
end?
when it was all done and when it was all over, all these premieres and they all start disappearing. They all start quitting their jobs one by one, and then they all. And where are they now? They're off enjoying whatever monetary benefits that they obtained during that period.
It's created like that whole era has created a level of skepticism amongst everyone, and so now even people with all these drones, you see the UFOs and the unexplainable ones versus the ones that are like quite clearly government, I guess, whatever secret operations that they have going on. People are very suspicious of like this isn't what we think it is.
Even if it could be.
Exactly. So the
That's
people
what
like
fuck
us
does.
who really want this to be like this is the
Yeah.
disclosure
The
we've
trust.
been wanting.
The trust is gone.
Gone.
So, but I don't know, like, and going back to like this immature Neanderthalic sort of way of thinking, like being pathetic in trying to limit words and stuff.
Yeah.
I sometimes think, like, what would an alien, a higher being, look at?
What would Jesus do?
Yeah, what Jesus do? Well, he was a higher being, I guess. But like, what would these higher beings look at us and go? Would look at it with compassion and go, "This is just a part of their awakening process. It's a part of the physical battle between they've been conditioned to feel like this for so many years, and now they're finding out everything they knew was a lie." Or would they just go,
Disgust. Yeah.
"What the fuck is this species?"
Yeah.
I would like to think that's what it is. But
Well, it's
there's
probably how we look at orangutans evolving.
they're just learning. They're
Like,
like,
they've got tools now.
yeah, look at them.
Oh,
Look
they're
at how
throwing
clever they are.
stones.
Yeah.
Some of the behavior.
But
though,
now
that-
they're getting dangerous. They've got nuclear weapons, and that actually breaks the fabric of time space.
If
and
we-
you're starting to affect our fucking
yeah.
dimension, cunts. So fucking settle down.
Because really, if we saw orangutans start building bombs,
You'd go
intervene, wouldn't
You'd
you?
go- yeah.
We'd be like, no.
Well, bro. So
eradicate
I watched.
this species.
I watched last night, and this is maybe where we can, because I've forgotten the name. It was Moment of Contact. So Jamie, if you can find out where it was, but Moment of Contact. If you
And
watched
also,
it,
Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah,
and Jamie,
also,
pull that
can
shit
we
up.
get that ocean song that you were talking about earlier? Because I don't know what it is.
you don't know it, you would have heard it.
yeah,
Spirit
100%.
lead me where
I still don't know it. No.
It's on like 50 of our reels.
Is Jamie connected to us, or is Bitter on with the?
No,
I
Jamie.
am. I can do it.
Yeah. But
so moment of contact.
Moment of Contact, man. Fuck. It's on YouTube now because Amazon Prime, and I don't think that they allow it in Australia. I remember listening to the guy, the director, James Fox. James Fox.
Got it.
I got it.
Moment of Contact is the
Well, type in what is it? Alien UFO documentary. Moment of contact.
Yeah. Well, Moment of Contact. I think it's called Virage
Just
or
gotta go for a
something.
quick slash.
Yeah, it's in South America or Brazil. And mate, watch this fucking doco, because this is one account in 1996 of a UFO crashing in this place called, I want to say Faraja, or in Brazil.
It's Varginha.
Yeah,
Vagina.
yeah, Varija or something.
Smashing into the
Yeah,
vagina.
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 Yeah.
Spell it again. VAR.
Vargi.
Varginha.
Yeah, Vagina.
Virginia. So it's in Virginia. Okay, yeah. And there's this, and the accounts.
It's a South American Virginia.
The accounts of this cigar-shaped UFO damaged. So that instantly, like, I started going, wow, because that's not even really covered in that. How was it damaged? But this cigar-shaped UFO hovering and crashing on this farm in Virginia, and a couple of witnesses go to check up because they thinking this is a plane maybe that's been damaged. Go check up on these things, and the smell of ammonia that was there and sulfur. And he found it. And when they find the point in which he finds this crash, the same point in which they found where it happened, he's gone back 26 years later, hasn't been back. And he starts crying and he's like emotional, and you can see the sincerity in him, and he's trying to account for that and what happened. And within about 5 minutes of a crashing, military arrive and tell him, fuck off, point guns at him, say, mate, forget what you've seen, leave.
Well, maybe it was a military exercise.
Well, it gets worse. No, not worse. This is incredible. So 3 sightings of these creatures, oily skinned creatures that it's like dark skin. It's got like 3 little bobs on its head, big red eyes, and like a smaller, like a grey alien style look. And these
like the ant people that they talk about in the Amazonian ones.
Yeah, and they these 3 girls, young girls, stumbled across one of them just in an alley. This was not far from the crash site, and then they stumbled across this creature in the alley. A military police officer restrained and captured one of these creatures in a like an alleyway just slightly up from where the girls seen it. He then carried it to hospital. Someone was driving him. He was in the backseat holding it, took it to hospital. It's, again, stunk of ammonia or sulfur. All this slime and stuff was all over him. He died 2 weeks later from a poisoning of unknown. He got like a level of infection in his body where he died. And they got a guy who was part of the military, who was part of the operation, to go pick up the box in which they was in the hospital where they were doing the X-rays on this thing. This was like a whole town
in 96,
in 1996, where a whole town witnessed and understands it as just this is what happened, and the level of like sincerity in every person's account and the similarities, the smell of sulfur and ammonia, all of it adds up to like. A UFO with 2 aliens crashed because the other one died. That was found.
What happened to the alien that they brought to the hospital?
That died. So that was alive, brought it back, it died. There were X-rays. One of the military people who were questioned about this in the documentary, he wouldn't be on camera but faced his back to it and blurred his voice. He said that his experience with it was all he saw was the foot, but it was like... He described it as like V, 2 things, and he got very scared very quickly. He was told not allowed to say anything. The guy who so they found the guy who drove the car with the guy who was carrying the alien in the back seat.
So is he like a little alien?
Yeah, or like I think they described it about 4, 5 foot, and no. No, it's all good. So the picture, you want to show us the picture? Yeah, don't worry. It's all good.
Is it switcher connected or not?
No, not for that. And the guy who was driving the car, they located the guy who was driving the car. It was another military guy or police officer. They went to his house and started to ask him questions, and he said to the guy who was doing the documentary and the interpreter, if you don't leave, I will force you to leave with bullets. So you'll be shot. And he's like, I'm not talking. That's it. Done. And they found certain, it was very...
It's an interesting response.
And Rogan had him on as well, the guy who made the documentary. I remember I didn't realise they were the same ones until it started sort of adding up. I was like, I've heard this story before.
Right, okay.
And it is the most convincing account I've ever seen and heard.
I'm surprised he didn't go missing or have a drug overdose or hang himself.
Well, the fact that the guy died that was carrying him, that's probably...
Yeah.
They'll probably like...
There was a level of infection with the slime, apparently, or there was some sort of toxin within his system.
Well, straight away, I would think that if they're travelling at these
he was the only person
speeds,
who touched.
The reason that'd be covered in something would be not natural. It would be like something that they have to have to travel.
Well,
that's
the
what
girls all said. The 3 girls all drew the same thing, and they said that it looked scared. And it was like...
Was there any telepathic connection with this one?
No. But watch it. It's on YouTube.
Yeah,
Moment of Contact. It's It's a good doco, and I think the same guy made The Phenomenon. Apparently, The Phenomenon's pretty good. So
The funny thing is that now whenever things like this happen, like these drones over America and stuff, going back to the lack of trust that people have for the government, people are going to speculate every time now because of the lack of trust. Like you said, even when the
What do you
government,
think?
on the rare occasion that the government
the
are
truth.
telling the truth, people are going to question it now because it's like they've broken that trust.
what do you think it is? Like, what do you think the drones are? Because I think it's a combination of three things.
It's a good question. I saw that they asked Trump, and Trump said the government knows exactly what it is, and I don't doubt that for a second. I've become accustomed to them throwing all these weird distractions out there when there's to turn our attention away from something else. So whenever there's something else like that going on, I start looking for what else is over here and over here and stuff. What else is going on? Is there some kind of
Diddy, Jay-Z, all that's happening
There's all that. There's
at the exact same time.
Man, think of it. The thing that breaks my heart is like, as a hip hop fan, a lot of these, I'm done with celebrity, and I'm done with worshipping celebrity as well, which it might be
False
another
prophets.
might be another reason why a lot of people are turning to God, because we start to worship other things if we're not worshipping the idea of God. So we worship money, or we worship these celebrities, and they are just as evil or deceitful as the government sometimes. Number one, because they're being controlled, and number two, because I feel like Hollywood in general is the absolute pinnacle and epitome of just like self-worship and of money worship, and of like, it's all about the self. It's all about, that's why all them celebrities coming out during the election run, it was just like, why do you think that people
Why do people care?
You're the professional in that arena. That does not make you a professional in politics. You think that because you have influence that you should be telling people what to think, but it was so obvious that they were controlled. When I saw Eminem up there, man, it broke.
That was
Oh,
fucked.
man.
It sent me,
For
dude.
Kamala, man.
It broke my heart.
That's insane.
He had his head down. He didn't even look up once. So he's number one, he's reading something. And number two, he didn't even have the gall and the balls to look us in the eyes and tell us that this is how he felt. And I was just like, man, I've grown up looking up to you and respecting you as like a rebel, as like a someone that will not be told what to say or what to do. You just released an album talking about how pathetic wokeism is, and now you're here
with the epitome of it.
and you're
That was real strange. Why do you think that is? Do you think he just hates Trump?
Because I think he's on a list.
I maybe not. There could be that. This is the other thing. And again, the same distrust that we have with government has now transpired to this distrust among celebrities. Everybody's in question now, aren't they? It's like these Diddy parties were just like a hub for celebrities to come to. All of our favorite celebrities have been there, except Denzel, thank God. But like,
And 50.
and
50's my new favourite
50's
person.
a G.
Yeah.
50's a G. And he's having the time of his life with this.
I would
Having
love
the
to have
time
him
of his
on.
life.
Yeah.
But
Elite.
Yeah.
I think I seen this Andrew Tate video once, and like I think that he's quite a misunderstood guy. I actually like him.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I
same.
think he's taken out of context. I've noticed what started to turn me against government and mainstream media and stuff was people that I did look up to that were being. It all started with Michael Jackson for me. I will never believe that. When you look into. And then it's like, well, why would Michael Jackson become a hit for the mainstream and stuff for that? Look at how influential he was in the music game and how much he owned.
Yeah.
And then it'll all start to come about. And then just the whole way that thing played out, people don't know the ins and outs. They just know what the mainstream media was telling them about all them court cases. But anyway, that's when my mistrust started to, because I loved him so much. I just couldn't handle that I was being told this about him. And I just started digging into it. But then there's been heaps since then. There's Kanye, there's Kyrie, there's Kyrie during the pandemic thing. The whole NBA painted him
Kyrie
as some
Irving, for those that don't know.
Sorry, Kyrie Irving,
Yeah.
as some psychopath that was refusing to take the vaccine. And then there's been people since then. Trump, like as soon as they see someone of influence that's not conveying the message they want to convey, you're a hit piece.
Yeah. You're either
Aaron
psycho
Rodgers?
or there's a sexual harassment.
Aaron Rodgers, and they'll just paint you out like you're a psychopath, like you're not right in the head, that you're a little bit twisted. And it's like, why? Because I'm not conforming to what you guys want me to say and want me to believe. And when I started seeing what they were telling us and then look into it and see what actually happened or what they actually did, and I saw the disconnect there, I was like, we're being lied to. And why are we being lied? Why would you tell us this lie about this person if you weren't worried about us buying into what they're saying?
Which is fucked now, because the trend was someone speaks out, then there's a sexual assault, a rape case,
Boom.
or they've gone crazy and they
Russell
need
Brand?
meds. Yeah,
Russell Brand?
See, But let's see Harvey Weinstein. Now, he hopefully he's being punished and he actually did it. But the fact that so many before have been proven to be, you know, it muddies the water for all of the real ones. Yeah. So Trump's case, and from what I understand, he actually is a convicted rapist in a civil court case.
I can't remember.
Which is pretty fucked, because I had someone at dinner nearly break down when I told him I like Trump. She's like, no, I can't. He's a rapist. And I'm like, well, I don't know it well enough, and I don't want to defend a rapist.
We just ask her.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I'm trying to.
But when I looked into it, there was, very briefly, it's from the 90s.
Yeah, but was it that?
It wasn't the one that he said was too ugly.
Right. Okay.
That was Rosie O'Donnell.
So we will fact check that. But
yeah, but sometimes
but
when
then
people
Russell
go,
Brand,
he's this, and I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah,
instead
why?
of going,
Who told
no,
you
he's
that?
not, because I'm like, what makes you say that? Like, well, he just is.
Yeah.
And people never have any substance to what their claims are.
Yeah.
Where did you see that? I don't know. I just saw it on the news. Or I read it in the paper. It's like, have they ever lied to you before? Yeah. So why are you taking that as the gospel?
Yeah.
Why do you think that that's 100% truth? And it's because, have you ever heard the term cognitive dissonance?
Yeah.
That is like, ever since I learned that term, it's ubiquitous. I see it everywhere. I'm like, it's everywhere. It's because it's what is it? It's a clashing of information you're being given. It clashes with your values or your beliefs, and
it's
so
where
you just refuse to accept
where
it.
it's something you've always believed in, it's proven to not fit in with it.
Yes, with your values.
With your value, and then because that would shatter your world.
Yes,
it would
your
make
identity.
you not safe anymore.
Your identity.
Everything you've been living is a lie, and if you don't have the resilience to deal with that, then
But these are people that are not open to new opinions, and new information should form a new opinion. Especially, you got to fact check the information, obviously. But that's why sometimes I think to some of my older friends that are quite stuck in their ways and they're happy doing that, whatever. But when they see me constantly changing and being a constant contradiction, like all human beings are, like, oh, Aaron's gone through another phase. They probably think that this connection that I'm forming with God is just Aaron's next phase, because remember when he looked into veganism, remember when he was a Buddhist, remember when this is and that, and it's like,
We've gone down the exact same path, bro.
but it's because I'm open to change, and you're not, and so you're still the kind of like, and the same person that you were years ago. I'm not. I'm constantly. It's funny. Them same people believe in evolution, yet they're happy to just stop evolving. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to evolve.
Pretty cool.
You're not going to evolve anymore. Like, you're not in the gym trying to evolve your body. You're not in books trying to evolve your mind.
Yeah.
But you believe in evolution, and it's like,
Now, what, like, not concerns me, but like when I hear someone go through the exact same, and I already knew that, we've chatted about this before, we've gone through the same pathway, me and you.
Yeah.
And I've heard that with 7, 8, 9 other people, very similar exact pathways. Even my current
interesting.
missus, like, she's gone through very similar stuff.
Wow.
And I go, in my head, one, is this a trend? Is this like we're victims? Are we victims of misinformation? Are we victims of like, oh, you have to follow this? Or is this something deeper where people are going down the same path for a reason?
But being similar people.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with my newfound faith and belief. I don't try to think into that stuff too much. I think that God has a plan, and I'm exactly where I need to be, knowing exactly what I need to know for where I am in life. And I just don't. I'm trying not to dissect it and pull it apart too much. I'm just, again, surrendering to the fact that this is where I am. This is what I'm doing. This is making me happy right now. Let's see where this goes.
Every time I try to understand it, I find myself in far more peril, far more pain, far more frustration. Then I just go, every fucking time you try and understand it, you try to control it. This is the situation.
There's still room to try and understand, though, because like,
curiosity.
If you're not doing that, then that's how you end up in a cult, or how you end up led down the wrong path. You should always be questioning: is this right? Is this? Does this align with what I think? Am I being lied to? Am I doing this because it's easier for me to live my life and I don't want to face any dramas and I'm avoiding trauma?
That's where the foundation is important. If you can build a really solid foundation of wisdom and clear-mindedness and faith in, even if it's not in God, faith in yourself, that I know that I'm intelligent and objective enough to be open to anything, and so that means I'll also be where I need to be for the time that I need to be there.
Well, I think the best way, and I've found this is the best way for me, is to find what is not serving you. What is actually doing you a disservice, and then, now I can make the change.
Yeah.
I can avoid that, or I can at least limit it and go, right, well, I'm aware of what's going to happen if that's not serving me anymore.
Are we also just the type of people that will jump in and try things to see if it works? It doesn't, so we're moving on to the next thing.
Correct. Yeah,
So
there's no qualms with going and making an error in your path and going, I thought that was the right path. That wasn't it.
But you have to try it to realize that it's not.
Correct.
There's a lot of people that go, veganism's not for me. I'm like, have you tried it? They're like, no. I'm like, well, how do you know that?
Yeah.
And it wasn't for me.
Yeah, same, yeah.
I got really skinny. I actually became unhealthy and it started stressing me out because of how inconvenient it always is. And I just, I didn't feel better than I didn't feel better.
I think the hardest thing with anyone, man or woman, or they or them, is admitting you're wrong. If you've lived something and realizing you've made a mistake or you're wrong, nobody likes to do that. And one of the most important skills you can ever grow, I think, as a person is having the ability to reflect and go, fuck, that's probably not right, that was wrong. And being man enough, or woman enough, just being human enough to let people know you fucked up, I was wrong, let's move forward with it. Too many people dig their heels in, and that's why you have arguments. Like, even on the way back, Yoni's like my best mate. When he's like, I can't believe you like Trump, man. I'm like, well, I think he's not as bad as people say. He goes, nah, like the shooter was set up by him. I'm like, nah, I don't
that
think
one's
so.
silly. But
I'm like, I don't think so. But like, I was like, there's no point arguing.
Yeah, no, correct.
I said, man, in my head, I'm like, he's my mate. It doesn't matter.
And there's
so we had a little discussion. I didn't have the need to prove him wrong.
Yeah, that's
he
good.
was
That's
upset,
really
and I was like, well, that's fine. Like, I just went, okay, let's not stress. Like,
do you know what
if
it
I didn't
is?
have this pod, I wouldn't have done that, because I would have been like, yeah. But the fact that we keep preaching, hey, you should just listen to each other. We don't have to prove. I don't have to shut you down.
Yeah, because in a year we might see that
maybe we were right.
Trump was the
devil,
the plant.
Yeah,
but you know what? If I'm wrong, I'll admit it.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, I'll admit it then as well. And going back to what you were saying about being wrong, and everybody's so scared to admit that they were wrong, it's because, and this is what's wrong with society, is that we care more about what other people think of us than what we think of ourselves. So the best thing for myself and my own growth is to try things, admit when I was wrong, invest in the things that I think are right in the time. And if later down the track it turns out to be wrong, I'll throw my hands up and go, I was wrong on that. You have to dare to be wrong. You have to, that's what critical thinking is. Sometimes you're going to be wrong. Admit when you're wrong, readjust and keep moving. And then if you're wrong again, but people are so scared to go, I was wrong, because what are they going to think about me if I admit that I was wrong? Are they going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is what a lot of people do, as it pertains to people like Kanye. Like, Kanye said this, it was anti-Semitic. Completely disregard everything he ever says from here on out. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Like, so you're saying that you'll never have any common ground, like Jonas, you'll never have any common ground with Trump or anything he says. You're going to disagree with everything that he says from now on because at one time somebody told you he was a racist. Do you know what the funny thing is with Trump? This has this story. So Hannah hadn't met my mum before, and I take Hannah to meet my mum, and my mum comes out with a Trump hat on. not Make America Great Again. It's Trump. It's pink and it says Trump in diamantes across the front of it. And when she came out, I thought, oh dear Lord. I said, Hannah, my mum, this is my girlfriend Hannah. And then I saw Hannah's face go. She's like, does that say Trump? I was like, yeah. And mum went on this long rant about Trump this and Trump that. And she was saying a lot of things that I was like Jonas at the time. And again, but my objective thinking comes into it. And to be honest with you, I went home and I started to look into it all to disarm my mum. To all this stuff she was saying, I wanted to go back with her and said, actually, I've proven that. So I'm fact checking my mum because I want to be able to prove her wrong, because she was so arrogant in this information that she had. And I've got to give it to her. She was early doors. She was early doors with the Trump stuff. A broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
But so I go home, I start doing all my own research. And I'm like, just proving the stuff, some of the stuff she was saying, I'm proving it right. I'm debunking my own belief system thus far in respect to this man. Like I thought I knew all he was about. And I was like, man, they got me again. They got me with Michael Jackson. They got me with all these other people before him. And they got me again. They're still able to get me with these. And I don't even watch mainstream media. It can just be from conversations with people. So
it happens heaps. What's the verdict with Russell Brand then? Because we heard the accusations when he was starting to get huge, and he's disappeared.
He was huge already. It was more like he
was becoming influential.
Yeah.
So what's happened there? Because nothing's happened.
Do you know what? Whenever exactly? Do you know when I always question things? Whenever a whistleblower or somebody comes out and they go to the media before they go to the police, always question that. That's never a good sign. And when it's a large amount of time, like a period of time that's passed, it's like, so wait a minute, this happened 10, 12, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything about it then. Now, after all this time, you're choosing to do something about it, but your first stop isn't the police station. Your first stop is a media outlet.
Yeah.
So I always
Then
question
there's
stuff like
there's
that.
a reverse of that. The police didn't do anything. You know, who are you to tell people when to come out with their trauma? But you always got to and that's what's fucked, because the real victims, like,
it
are
gets
now
muddied.
a part of
We'll look
questioning their
We'll
authenticity.
look at Tate, like they're completely thrown out.
And where's the coverage on it?
Yeah.
Where's the coverage on it? And the other thing is that there is meant to be ramifications and consequences for people that make false accusations and they prove not to be true.
get
And
away
it
with
never
everything.
happens anymore.
But the thing is, all those people, none of them made accusations as well with that case in particular.
that? Oh, the Tate one?
The Tate one. No one made accusations. Every single woman
were
that's
buying
It was a
said-
guy that went and did it. It was,
Yeah,
a,
so
it was a girl that wanted a free trip from the guy, and then she said for a laugh that she was being held, and he went to the cops.
Yeah. And then, and so he, I guess, can't be held accountable because he was just acting on what he thought. But regardless, all of the women that were questioned, they said, no, we're here of our own doing.
That's what you would say if you've been trafficked.
But they said to him, no, you're under manipulation.
Yeah.
You've been convinced you're free, but you're not.
What did they call it? The nice guy approach or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, he made a good point. He was like, put it this way, right? This is after he'd spent a long time in jail and he got out after he was doing them interviews, and he said, I've been under the microscope for so long, they've been trying to dissect my whole life and pull everything apart. If these police that you put your trust in, or the government or whatever, were going to find something, like if someone put my life under that level of scrutiny, they'd find some shit that I've done wrong.
Yeah.
Like I'm no one's squeaky clean perfect. They'd
Yeah.
find something I've said along the way. They'd like pull up old tracks of mine that I used to say.
Or a tweet.
I used to say faggot on my tracks. I used to, do you know what I mean? And they could cancel me based off that. So I think Dave Chappelle says something like, Ricky Gervais says, like, just be mindful that if you're going to today, based on what the paradigm is and what people are agreeing is right and not wrong, if you're going to go back in time and judge people for something when it wasn't wrong back then, based on what is right and wrong today, then just remember that what you're doing today can be judged 10 years from now in the same light.
And this is why, and obviously slavery, for example, terrible thing that happened in our history, but bringing down and tearing down statues of people who owned slaves at the time when that was the norm and that was just a part of it. Not that I'm condoning what they were doing, but like that was what was normal back then.
You're trying to change history. You're trying to erase history. You can't erase history.
You can learn from it.
That's Orwell.
There was someone that was saying, should we go tear down the hospital that he built as well?
Yeah.
Should we go, do you know what I mean? It's like, no, leave that. It's just like people are so, that's selective outrage.
Yes.
People are so.
That's the worst.
What's the word? They're just contradictions. And I guess we are all contradictory in one way or another. But
what do you think the drones were, to circle back? You've got three things.
Yeah, I think they're drones. I think like government drones. I think the plasma ones are very interesting.
Very interesting.
The plasma
They're
ones,
probably holograms.
well, potentially.
They're probably part of Project Blue
So there you
Beam.
go. That was the second one. But the plasma ones are a bit interesting, but that could be the blue beam sort of stuff.
How do we trust that what we're
But,
seeing is actual authentic as well? How do we know that the footage that we see from this plasma thing is even
That's what I mean.
verified?
That's what I'm saying. I think there's three. I think there's blue beam. I think there's real drones, and I think there's real UFOs.
Because they made a good point. If it wasn't the government, why wouldn't they shoot them down? Why wouldn't they? And why is it just popping? Why is it always America that these things
That's
pop up?
exactly it. Why is it America? Why
always
not
in
here,
America.
man? We're in Perth, bro.
Because no one knows anything about Perth.
Yeah, but if
And this is the center of the world, unfortunately.
Well,
I
after
don't
the
like
hard
it.
yarns blows up.
Yeah.
say
Well,
I
turn
was-
this. I've said to you as well. Like, I want to turn this into like the Austin. I want to turn.
Well, funny you say that, because they've approved the multi-million-dollar film
Yeah.
studio at Whiteman Park.
But-
So that's going to help a lot with potential guests.
but why? Why at fucking? It's not quite.
there's
like,
heaps of space.
Yeah, but it's not quite my Whiteman Park. What is it? It's what's the suburb just before it?
Nangara?
Not Wang. It's a little bit Malaga.
Malaga.
It's like.
Is it in Malaga?
It's in Malaga, just out of Malaga. So
Just
you're
pure-
like, so
because
you're going
of-
to get the biggest superstars in the world and go, here's Malaga.
Yeah, but it's not like no. That's just the sets. That's where you.
Yes, I get
Yeah.
it. But yeah, it's where it's appropriate there. There's lots of land space but Yeah, the
I think
fact that it's in Malaga, it's like you're going to go through an industrial area and
there's going to be a bunch of
Reed
things.
Highway.
There's going to be a bunch of things that pop up now because of who's in power, and they're going to these things. I think these things are going to come to the forefront to, I guess, to highlight inadequacies, like to say, like they're going to throw a bunch of. He's going to be. It's going to be worse than ever, and they're going to go after JD Vance, and they're going to go after Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and it's going to be they're going to almost create these things to create obstacles for him that sometimes might be impossible for him to overcome. They're not going to make the next 4 years easy for him. They're going to try and make him look stupid.
Which is what was that law that they extended until 2025? There's no recourse for action against Pfizer, Moderna, all of these companies until 2025. They extended the current law,
and even I was
punishment against those that mandated it.
I was explaining to Hannah about the whole Hunter Biden pardon, just saying
That's fucking insane.
The fact that it's not just like for what he did, they've just like taken it back a decade to say nothing in the last decade can he be done. I was like, you'd have to be an idiot to not have objective.
What if he murdered and raped a woman or something? You know,
All
like,
good.
Is it all good?
All good. And he had the audacity to get up there and say, I've really enjoyed this term. I had a scandal-free term. I'm like, bruh, are you serious?
Yeah, because he can't remember it.
Scandal-free.
Scandal-free
But
term,
I think
bro.
the most frustrating thing out of all of that is you were labelled a conspiracy theorist and a liar and a misinformation about the Hunter Biden laptop, things that would have changed the election. And he is pardoned for those crimes
For the very
that
crimes.
they said he didn't do. So he's been pardoned for the thing that they wouldn't release because they said wasn't true.
And it was a
that in
conspiracy.
itself should be some
That's the scandal
form.
right there.
That's got to be a
Do
fucking...
you know what else I find? Have you ever thought about this? What else I find interesting is that they say that the 2020 election was rigged and stolen. What happened what was happening at the time? And who is the kind of president that if something was to be discovered as corruption instead of a, what do you call it, pandemic, Trump's got too big of a mouth. He's not going to go, oh, okay, cool. I'm just going to go along with what you guys are saying to do and push all this stuff. He would have gone. So it's funny that they wanted that if there was an election stolen, it was the 2020 election,
Which was the COVID one.
and it was the COVID one. So did they need the puppet, what was left of the puppet anyway by the end of his term, to be in there to agree to push all of this, stuff and allow for this stuff to play out? Because we are talking about the most powerful, the leader of the free world, the most powerful country in the world. And so all these other countries are going to follow suit. So if Trump was there, did they have enough confidence that this guy's going to play out our narrative?
I feel like, it's just anybody with logic would see just on the numbers alone of how many people voted Democrat. It was 13 million more than any other time in history, even the most recent one.
Yeah.
You know, so
I look at it, I honestly... It's not truthful. It's just my opinion that the last election that was, in my opinion, stolen, COVID was released
to steal it.
to
be
be
able
able
to
to
implement-
the mail-in ballots.
to be able to implement that, and then also smear the end of his presidency.
And then to gain,
My
and then
opinion.
to gain control.
That 200 mules or 2,000 mules doco that we saw the night of Tucker,
Oh yeah,
that was extremely convincing. But again, I could be misinformation. But
Yeah.
they've got people on film putting in stacks of votes, like fucking knowing where the postal votes are. Wow. It's insane.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point that the trust thing is just like nothing would surprise you, would it? Like if the stuff came out, like there was a day where even when I first met Hannah, there was a few things I'd be like, hey, this, or 9/11, and she was like, no way. And then I'd show her a bunch of stuff, and she was just like, like what?
9/11's 100%. Like there's something going on there. Building 7's the one. Because it doesn't even collapse from the top like the other ones. Even though they can't
The
collapse
funniest
like
thing
that.
was-
But the Building 7 collapses literally in on itself.
But there was a lady.
And there was no fire down the
But
bottom.
imagine if all of this actually was like it's not a conspiracy.
Yeah.
And the problem is there's been so much lies
Yeah.
that now you look back and
Well, that's the one where they've got video footage of it, and you can see that
It's
building.
like an implosion.
If I ever was sure of one, it's that one.
Yeah.
If I ever was sure that there was an inside, like something to some kind of government interference, it was that one.
was Building 7 meant to be hit by a plane as well?
How funny is this? So Building 7 is the one that had all of the, I guess,
$1 trillion.
Well, the evidence in it, anything that would, I guess, be used to prove or disprove or whatever. So, but the funny thing is that have you seen the lady presenting the news
Yes.
on it collapsing? And it collapses behind her. She's talking like it's already done.
Yeah.
She's like, Building 7 has gone down, and you see it go behind her.
That's weird.
So she just knew it was going to, like...
Is that real footage?
It's 100% real footage.
Yeah, I don't even think it's collapsed. I think it's just sitting behind her. Is it? Is that? Does it just sit behind her?
You see it come...
I can't remember, but it's definitely like she's
mate.
talking about it already, and it's either right behind her still, or it's collapsing behind
okay.
her.
I might be wrong there.
It's fucking 20 years ago. Though.
Fact check me,
But
fact check
but still, it's fucking that Building 7 is the one. Is the one that is
Is that the one that
smoking.
had the state where they were in trillions of dollars of debt and then
All the
that's the Pentagon.
CIA
Okay.
related
That
stuff.
was the Pentagon.
yeah
Pentagon.
So was
the
Building
one-
7 the same day as 7-Eleven?
Yeah,
9/11?
yeah.
All happened at
And
the
the
same
Pentagon
time.
as well.
Yeah.
Where's Building 7's location? Next to the
Well,
Twin
that's the other
Towers?
thing. So they're saying that fragments of the plane or something
Yeah.
hit it and it came down.
Is
but
it near the Twin Towers?
Well, there's like a vicinity of the World Trade
Yeah.
Center. There's a center.
Yeah, it was close.
if it was done by their own government, that is such a fucking...
As if they care about,
ballsy-
like, honestly though, like, in world's scheme of things, as if they care about 3,000 lives.
Yeah.
As if.
But-
Well, they celebrate it every year. I say celebrate. They talk about it every year. Have we done any tributes for COVID? So and like 3,500 people. I'm not devaluing the loss of life,
Yeah.
but like how many people are dying around the world from all these things that we probably have the technology to help them. You know? Like
It's-
we,
The other part is there was like the best documentary on 9/11 that I've seen is The Anatomy of a Great Deception, I think it's called, and it's a guy that kind of, the way I looked at the Trump thing, he looked at the 9/11 thing. He thought people were spazzing out and like wanted to disprove the inside job theory and narrative. So he started looking into it and he fell down the rabbit hole. It ripped apart his marriage because he obviously got so obsessed with it. And the amount of stuff that he was coming up with and showing, like even Bush, like I'm a strong believer of intuition and the eyes, when they
lie, Chico. It's
when,
in the eyes.
when Bush was in that school and they announced that he was going to be in the school the day before, which they never do with the president because then any assassin attempts were going to know where he is, right? So he's in this school and then the guy comes and whispers in his ear and you see this look wash over George Bush's face and his eyes, and there's just something that sits inside of me that I just feel that something was not right in that moment.
But I mean, if he
and
knew
then
it
he
was going to
stayed
happen,
there.
why would they tell him in front of a bunch of kids to give that tell away?
I don't know. Well,
He
you
probably
could,
didn't
you could
know
argue they
to
said
be, whether it's
done.
successful or not. Yeah.
But
And
why
the-
would you say it's done while the kids are on the mat? Like, shouldn't you just finish the book and then that way the cameras are away? Like, that would be a stupid decision.
Don't forget, this is 20 years ago before.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that he stayed in that school. Like, if something like that happens, they get the president out of there to a secure location. He just stayed there. He just stayed there for hours after, I think, apparently, just going on as per normal.
Yeah, well, even the fact that the plane can't even fit in the hole that is made in the Pentagon wall, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Have you seen that footage?
No.
There's not one bit of debris.
So do you know what's-
one bit of
There's no plane
debris,
yeah.
nothing.
But there was a passport, which was...
Do you think...
Oh, that was in the towers, but yeah.
Do you think the cognitive dissonance people, the people that like just cannot have their, I some part of me gets why, because the second that you say you're a really anxious person and you're scared, you submit to the government and you just think the government have got us, everything's going to be okay. So if you are saying you cannot trust them, they're full of fear and they're operating from a place of fear, and then the cognitive dissonance comes into it and things of that nature. What I was saying before about Jordan Peterson slowly, how he said that they're slowly going to push it. What if one day that because it got close with 9/11 and it got close with COVID and they were both pretty obvious and clear that something was going on. Imagine if the next thing that they try, they completely stuff up and completely reveal themselves. Do you think there'll still be a large population that just refuse to accept it, no matter how blatantly clear and obvious
Yes,
it is?
of
Yeah,
course.
I think so.
Of course.
Yeah.
But like,
And I like the thing with 9/11 as well, Alex Jones predicted it
yeah.
a year or 2 years in advance.
I think in April.
Wow, I didn't know that.
In
Yeah.
April
He
and
says-
September it happens.
So he said, the planes, he said Osama bin
And there was
Laden.
something else as well that was it Epstein and stuff that he was trying to
Oh,
whistleblow about, and people thought he was crazy.
Yeah, he found the island with the
Epstein Island?
owls and that.
Did he?
Yeah, remember- no,
No.
the Bill Clinton place.
Yeah, what's the
I can't remember the name of it. Where they go in.
Oh my God.
Bohemian
Grove.
Grove.
Yeah, he went to and he found Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
And
But
filmed it.
The problem is that he was so wrong about the Sandy Hook that has fucked everything up for
Discredits
him.
everything, yeah.
But you got to swing. You're gonna miss sometimes. If you're a swinger, he's swinging.
No, that aligns with what something we talked about yesterday. I talked about with Grace, walking around the lake with the dogs, and it was I think it was Kobe Bryant or whatever. How many game-winning buzzer beaters he had a shot at? Like it was 1,000, and he only got 200. But
it's
Michael
Jordan.
Jordan one,
Jordan,
yeah. And you don't remember the misses. You only remember the 300 fucking winners.
Yeah.
So you just got to swing sometimes.
You got to swing sometimes.
But that was a hectic swing.
Again, it was. What I was saying to you before, you have to have the balls to be wrong. You have to have the ball. That you have to dare to be wrong.
But do you think, like when you really break it down financially, you see that some of these, for example, pharmaceutical companies have knowingly given, like Johnson & Johnson, knowingly giving their customers and their clients, which is kids,
Asbestos.
cancer, and you have some pharmaceutical companies that have been found guilty of killing, hundreds of thousands of people accidentally with their product. So when looking at 100,000 people dying from a product, what is 3,000 people dying in a massive accident in
Exactly right.
Because it's traumatic. It's instant.
Well,
It's
not
straight
only
away.
that, the financial incentives of the fact that they're now the military industrial complex gets to start a war in a country that nothing was going to happen. You get the insurance money that comes from the building of you build
That they took out not long before it happened, by the way.
Exactly,
coincidentally.
only like weeks
Yeah,
before,
if that,
and covered it for plain. Was it days?
Just days.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's days.
And
Pull that up, Jamie.
Pull that up, Jamie. And so when you look at it from just a financial point of view, it just makes sense. Like you've seen for pharmaceutical companies and mining companies not care about the poisoning that's happening to their people because it's going to make them a shitload more money.
Money talks.
No value in human
Well,
life.
even with
money
the Trump
money over
assassination,
life.
the
Yeah.
Trump assassination, they shorted Trump stocks.
Yeah.
That the day before,
Yeah.
and then they said it was a
It's an
clerical
accident.
error.
Yeah.
Like
You just got to follow.
Right.
Sometimes you just got to follow your nose.
And so, I feel like there's a movie it's a TV show that articulates it perfectly. And if you haven't watched it, I recommend.
Fear Factor.
No, I recommend you watch it. If you haven't watched it, it's called Mr. Robot. It is easily my favorite series I've ever watched.
Wow.
the guy
And
that
there's
plays Freddie Mercury, what's his name?
Yeah, Rami Malek.
Rami Malek.
And he's incredible. He plays a hacker who brings down the credit card systems around the world and causes chaos.
Yeah, right.
But there is a part in this series where the owner of this company they call Evil Corp, which is meant to be like either Apple or it's representing a big major tech corporation. The owner of this company also owned a mine in which they're a mine or a gas company or something like where they knew that the people who were working there were being poisoned, but they set up themselves a trust fund that was going to make more money than the payouts that were going to be paid for the killing of the
so
family.
far.
And I know this is a fictional story, but this is exactly how big tech companies work. So they just don't care.
They don't care.
And the part of it that's very like it hits hard is the fact that he described it, and this is how it goes down. They had a quick thought on the people who were going to lose their lives and just went, "This is business."
Sacrifice.
Well, that's where God comes back.
Sacrificial lambs. Yeah.
And I know
if there
it's
was
a
more
fiction.
God in the world,
I
then
know
we
it's a
wouldn't have these evil
And
corporations.
when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, you cannot tell me that the devil doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that the evil doesn't exist in this world because I feel like we're all born. Look at this. Everybody's born with an innate goodness. Like you look at, I'm sure Hitler when he was 4 years old was a lovely little chap. Do you know what I mean? But something got a hold of him and he became of this flesh, of this. And I just feel like it's all our duties to try and transcend flesh and form some kind of spiritual connection. But I do believe in the innate goodness in people. And then when you see evil like that, we were on Christmas Day, there was a baby at Hannah's
Jesus
parents' house. I wish.
Yeah.
At Hannah's parents' house. Indigenous baby. He was beautiful, but one of Hannah's aunties, I think, or Hannah's nana's, anyway, but she is a foster carer. So she's always got these different foster kids with her every time we see her. And beautiful little Indigenous baby. I couldn't get enough of him. I'm holding him. He's gorgeous. Anyway, I'm like, so what's the deal? What's the story with this? He was, DCP came and took him from the hospital. All of his limbs were broken. His legs were broken and his arms were broken. He's 6 months old. And I'm crying. I'm thinking, like, you know what I mean? I'm holding this baby crying. How could somebody ever do that to the most most vulnerable life possible. And it's evil. There's evil in this world. And this is where the not judging people thing comes into play that Christ is talking about, because you're not judging the person, you're judging the spirit, the evil spirit that is occupying and using their body as a vehicle to play out evil actions. So that helps with the whole not judging people thing. You don't judge of this flesh. You come from a place of compassion, being like, you're being used as a vehicle to transport evil in this world.
And there is that, but there's also so much good in the world.
Yes.
And it's a quote. It's from Lord of the Rings.
That's the spiritual warfare.
And the quote in the Lord of the Rings is Frodo asks Sam, he's like, "Why are we doing this? Why don't we just give up?" And he goes on a big monologue where he talks about the people in the old tales had so many setbacks and trials and tribulations where they could have turned around, but they didn't. And the reason they didn't is because there was some good in this world and it's worth fighting for. And it's just something in that speech. I know it's a fictional fantasy movie, but something about that is fucking very relevant to the world we're living in at the moment.
I was going to say, when art imitates life, and do you know what I mean? It's like,
if you didn't watch the news, I don't think you would pick up on so much evil.
No.
Because in your everyday life, I see good all the time.
Everywhere.
Like,
I
the
was
only
saying
time
this
you
to
see
someone.
the only time you see a lot of evil is when you look at the news, or you're on your phone and then there's a terrorist attack in New Orleans on New Year's Eve. Like, we're so, like, disconnected from where we're supposed to be. If you look at your everyday life, I bet I don't see much evil at all.
no, it's fear mongering, and it's more. They always say, just like a lie is more entertaining than the truth, the bad is more entertaining than the good. So it's going to keep your viewership up and things of that nature. Even though all mainstream media is going to die off soon. But when I was in community services, I would see things, or I'd see stories, or I'd see, like, there was these trucks that were invented that were full of washing machines, and they'd pull up outside. And I remember looking, Orange Sky, I think it's called, or something of that nature. Something of that nature. Can you check that, Jamie? But and I was like, why isn't the news reporting on stuff like this? It was this beautiful community feel that everybody was gathered at, and like, I was like, this is amazing. People, I would want to see this on the news. It would make me feel good, but it would never be reported on the news. And so I had this. I didn't end up doing it, so I shouldn't even talk about this. But I wanted to, just before Christmas, my friend owns Royale's beer, burgers and chicken.
Burgers,
and I know that he's quite, he's a lovely guy. He wants to give back. And so I reached out to him and said, let's hit the streets with, like, just cheeseburgers for the homeless on Christmas Eve, because when I was in community services and working with the homeless, it's a horrible time for them. It's not like it is for us, where you get to celebrate joy and family and things of that nature. It highlights the fact that they don't have them things. So it's actually really rough on them. So I was like, let's hit the streets with some cheeseburgers and let's do some good. And what inspired me to do that is this guy I follow on Instagram, where he goes out, and from POV perspective, so it's not for his own, he's not,
Got his face on it.
Self-indulging, So, and he's handing out stuff to the poor, and they get to know him, and they're like, hey man, they're calling him by name, shaking his hand and stuff. And then it sent me down the like, I follow a few of them now because it makes me feel good. And my algorithm's on fire at the moment, man, because I'm watching a lot of Christian related stuff and things of that nature. It's so positive and it makes me feel good. I don't even listen to hip hop anymore. I don't listen to it. I listen to Christian worship music, because the eyes and the ears are the windows to the soul. And I was like, I was taking in so much, like, hate and negativity and angst and anxiety. It was just creating all of this anxiety in me. And now I just listen to positive stuff that makes me feel good. But what I thought when I saw that, I used to see people doing that and be like, why are you promoting your altruism? Why are you promoting?
I still kind of feel that way, but depending on the video.
But the perspective has to come into it too. So it's like, I get what, and again, it goes back to the intention piece, right? But I thought, I don't, like, people like, don't do this at all, don't film it at all. But I'd be like, no, it's making me feel good to watch that happen. Like, that's the thing about compassion. If I show you compassion, I benefit from it because it feels nice to be compassionate. You benefit from it because you're receiving the act of compassion. You benefit from it because it feels...
Show some compassion, motherfucker.
No.
Someone hates compassion. You benefit from it because it feels nice to watch an act of compassion play out. So it's literally beneficial for all. So I just...
like attracts like. What you see, what you bring in and invite into your world.
100%.
I just thought that...
Oh, damn it. I just said 100%. Oh, fuck.
What's wrong with that?
Sorry to change
is it one of them things you're
No,
trying
we
not
got
to
a
say
message
something?
from Jamie Phillips. Jamie Phillips.
Long time listener.
Have I told you this?
Think you say
Sorry to
100%
detract.
No.
Yeah,
I was done anyway.
So she's said that she's been getting called 100% on work sites, and 100% like with because she says it all the time, and she's realised because I say 100% all the time, and she listens to every episode, and I was like, I'm conscious of the fact that I say it all the time. I'm trying not to say it. And I don't know how many times I said it this episode, but I'm not going to say 100% anymore.
Are you sure?
I think we've all
100%.
we've all got our comfort words that we go to, isn't it?
I know where I got mine from. I know where 100% came from. Gary V.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he says it all the time, and I same thing. I listen to him.
Gary
Jamie, you got it from Gary V, not me.
Yeah, right.
Gary 5 in Roman numerals.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a lot more conscious about the content that I'm absorbing and digesting because, man, I went down a rabbit hole of, and it wasn't until I saw where I was at when I was absorbing all of that, and I see where I'm at now that I'm absorbing all of this, that I know that it has an impact on who we are and kind of how our moods, do you know what I mean? Because I was like listening to like really dark hip hop and aggressive hip hop and talking about violence a lot, and then also watching. I got loved the true crime docos.
Yeah.
So, and I remember once I went to get Isla from school, and I'm like waiting at the end of the Oval, and I'm like, where's she at?
Yeah.
And then straight away my head goes into, has she been grabbed? Has she been? Do you know what I mean? Because all of this stuff's at the forefront of my mind, and I'm playing out how this is going to go if she's been taken, and then like my mind just goes down this spiraling rabbit hole of what could be.
This is why I avoid all that stuff as well. I
It
avoid
affects your
horrors.
worldview.
I avoid those sort of murder documentaries. Sometimes I'll dabble, dip my toe into it.
It
But
feels so dark. It just, we put on a doco the other day about this little girl that was murdered, this 7-year-old girl, and about 2 minutes into it, I was like, I'm not doing this. I turned it off. I said, we're watching something a little bit more, at least something that's not real.
Yeah.
At least something that's like, it's just like, you know, like a Netflix series that's made up. I don't want to watch like this, all these news clips play out and like, it just affects my, like this is going back to what you were saying, is like, and the news thing is that we have the ability to control what comes into us and what we're receiving and what we're not. And I just don't want that stuff infiltrating my mind and my heart anymore.
yeah, definitely.
I tried to find a good news story each week. Early days of Hard Yarns.
That's good. I like
Remember?
that.
That's a new segment. That could be a new
We
segment.
tried it for a little bit and then we stopped.
I just
Because we
realised
didn't
Not
entertaining.
I'm sorry to change it again. I was so conscious of not saying 100% then. I said definitely. Now that's going to be the new word.
1000%.
1000%.
I always say
But
true.
you're right. I think avoiding negative. You're a product of your environment. So if you're surrounding yourself with good people, if you're surrounding yourself with
Good podcasts.
good information,
material.
things that inspire you and make you want to be better. That's what I really want to do with this podcast now. And give people a way, because we've all done damage to ourselves. All of us. We still do continue to do damage to ourselves. I'm really excited to have Barbara O'Neill on next week. Like,
She's great.
mate, she's incredible. And the fact that we've got an opportunity to have her on is...
In here?
Yeah. I don't think so. I think it's Zoom. But regardless, the fact that we get to chat to her and have a yarn with her is incredible. And I want to provide people with a way to undo the damage. And that's a health point of view. Undo the damage that we're constantly doing. We're surrounded by poisons. We're surrounded by poisonous material that we're taking in, like you've just said.
It's all the same.
And giving people options, and this is what I want to do with the conference, is giving people options to rid themselves of the damage they've done to themselves and continue to do themselves, so we can start to build better as a society, build individually. Because me telling Delby or you or Jamie what to do to be better that shouldn't be my concern. It should be, how can I be an example, or how can I fix myself?
Yes.
Because everyone's different. My things that I've damaged my body with will be different to what Delby's damage is, and
Yeah,
yours.
mine were mainly butt plugs.
The funny thing is that at the core of why you were damaging yourself with those things, they're usually the
figure it
same.
out.
Which is why going deep inside and finding it inside yourself is the most important part.
Like my butt plugs.
Is that what? That's good. And we've gone a very long way to coming back to what the album was about. Is that all of this sort of stuff that we've been chatting about? Is that the theme?
I said to someone recently, it was Shaker, who I record with, I said, there was some concern there for a while that the stuff I'm talking about isn't really palatable or interesting for a younger audience, because I'm talking about being a dad. I'm talking about my faith sometimes.
Haley was huge for Eminem. And we didn't have kids.
Yeah, true.
You know,
that's really true.
Mockingbird.
That's really true.
Yeah.
But I just like what am I trying to say? The direction that hip hop has gone in, especially in Australia, has become really aggressive. It's become really like even the knife culture has become quite a thing over east. We don't hear about it much here, but in Sydney it's bad.
Yeah.
And like the drill and the drill and
The Facebook.
I'm 38 years old this year. So.
Mate, I said the TikTok the other day. I actually said the
Just
TikTok.
can't put the in front of
You
it.
can't put the.
That's why they removed
Facebook.
it. Yeah. But I just, like I said, it needs to capture
The hard yarns.
We're going to hard yarns.
was it the Hard Yarns podcast?
That on Insta, the Hard Yarns podcast.
But, up there it says HYP, Hard Yarns Podcast.
But yeah, a lot of family, a lot of my faith stuff. There's a song on there that talks about, it says, time is like your money. I've seen it come and go and disappear before me. Don't you blink. Like saying that like time and money are like, even though time is essential and of importance and money is not, that they're just talking about the similarity in them both disappearing. Because I feel like I just woke up and I'm 38 years, I'm like in my late 30s.
I feel you, man.
I cannot believe it. Like I look at certain memories or think of certain memories now and they're nostalgic. And then when I think about how long ago they are, and I'm like, whoa, that was 20 years ago.
Fuck, man. Even 2025, that marks a quarter century since we were in year 8. 25 years ago, we were just starting high school.
That's crazy.
And I remember it like,
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the really scary thing, and that was the other thing as well that kind of led me to my faith. That just a real, absolute fear of death, and the fear that there is nothing after here, and fear that there's nothing after here. I don't know what it is. I'm just really scared of that, and I'd say maybe that's the other thing. As people get older, like you say, people start to go, you become really aware of your own mortality. When you're young, in your 20s, even at 30 years old, like you start to, you're not aware of your own mortality. You're not. You just feel like you're going to live forever. And then when your body starts to, like my knees are shitty these days. I do legs at the gym and my knees ache. And it's like, I need to get my knees back to how they were when I was 25. And it's like, there's none of that.
No.
Like it's just, this is it, how it is now. I got to try and maintain, like make it not get any worse.
Yeah, how can you? I'm sure you can improve in certain ways, but how can you maintain so you don't do more damage?
Exactly right. And so,
to Knees Over Toes guy on
yeah.
YouTube.
Knees over toes
Knees
guy.
Over Toes guy.
That'll help you.
oh, real?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Knees over toes. All right.
Yeah, well, even stretching, man, it sounds so old. But
I
just
need to stretch now,
stretching.
man.
Like
I
I
need
put
to
it in my
stretch.
fucking daily habits.
Yeah.
I did a whole little schedule the other day, and it felt fucking awesome doing it. By the way,
Yeah.
I break it down what I want to do over the next 2 months, what my weekly structure, things I want to achieve every single week. So it's like, okay, I want to be in the studio 3 days a week. I want to do one podcast minimum a week. I want to do 7 reels, blah blah blah. But then my daily habits was like meditate. It was stretch. It was things that I want to do every single
guy
day.
stuff.
Fucking old man stuff, but I felt so good putting it up there because I'm like, right, every day I get to come up and tick my boxes, and if I haven't gone to bed and I haven't stretched or I haven't done this, I'll get it done.
I've been stretching. That's why I got the butt plugs.
Really stretching out.
Triple callback,
Well,
Delby.
have you done your New Year's resolution?
No, it's interesting because I talked to Grace about this the other day. I was going to write it all down, and I felt like I was rushing it. I didn't want to just go, this is what I want. Fucking, I've got an hour to write it down and I'm going to stick to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to think about it over the next week or so because I'd been drinking over Christmas and stuff. My mind's a bit foggy.
Yep.
And you said it before, waking up clear-minded and being clear with yourself. That's probably what you were doing in Bali when you were walking along. You were very alone. You were silent and you were very clear with yourself and you got shown
No
what
outside
love and you
noise.
could see everything. You could see the relationships between dogs and humans and everything.
Yeah.
I feel like that with my life path and what I want to achieve this year. Fuck knows where I want to be in 20 years. But this year, what do I want to achieve? I don't know. So I want to sit down, really think about it over a few days and then go, right, that's where I want to go.
I had a good chat with this beautiful human called Ricky, who's we met at Blazing Swan, and then he's come with us to a wild camp out. I asked him what his is.
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't have one because I find that I should always be working towards something, and I want to work on something each week, and I write my goals as I see them come
good, yeah.
forward. And he's like, I find if you have one resolution, you're going to fail it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's a really nice perspective.
Yeah.
A year is a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, a year's a good, like, it's not too far and it can set you some sort of achievable goals that you can achieve that year and set you, drive you. But then you've got room to change every year if you're
As long
setting
as
a
it's a
new
smart goal, you got specific, measurable,
That's
achievable,
yeah,
realistic with time.
Teachers
But if
coming
you're
out here.
planning
Right.
15 years ahead, fuck knows the type of person you're going to be in 15 years.
I actually think a month is a good because it's measurable and I just feel like
Monthly check-ins.
that's why the dry July. A lot of people that are drinkers and they do dry July, some of them never go back to drinking because it's like enough to be like achievable because it's not too long of a time, and then it's enough to get a good taste of what life is like without it. And I think that I've got a terrible habit of like trying to project too far into the future and trying to make a goal based on like tangible goals based on what I want my year to look like. I'm not trying to focus on that too much. More so characteristics that I'm trying to cultivate within myself. And patience is at the very top of that. And so I know that I'm going to continue being thrown tests.
You can wait a year for that.
And thrown.
Well, that's the concept.
It might be the same. It might be the same next year.
That's the concept of be, do, have. Like be the person you want to be and you'll have the life you want to live. So you be that person, you write down the characteristics, the traits, the way that person would act, what they would do. And then you'll have that life that you want.
And that's the same
I'm going
thing.
to journal each day. I bought one.
Oh, yeah.
It arrived yesterday. So
What sort of journaling?
I've got a gratitude journal where it's got prompts because I don't know how to do it, so I'm just going to start.
Mate, and that's the biggest thing, like knowing what to write. Like I just write what feels right. But that would be, I think if I do buy a journal again this year, because I've got
I think we could create a Hard Yarns gratitude or resilience journal. I think with the way that we both look on life, but I want to do it first before I try.
Try it for a year,
When I
or
was-
a month, just a month, see if you like it. Yeah, good
When I
idea.
was really struggling with my depression, Hannah bought me one called Happy Journal or something like that.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
every day it's got a list of emotions. And at the end of the day, you kind of tick the emotions that you kind of felt throughout the day. And it's got, like you said, all these prompts, like what were the 3 challenges of today? And it's just like very structured. And it was helping me a bit. I don't believe I need it anymore, but that was a good one as well.
Going back and reading it helps because you see the position you were in, like the hard ones, the ones when you're really struggling. And I've written that down, like I'd be like, that day, let's go back and read what I was going through. And then the next 2 or 3 days after, and you're like, oh, fuck, 3 days later, I was in an incredible spot. That makes this tough time right now, doesn't mean it's not tough, but it makes it a lot more easier to know that, I'll get through this. This too shall pass.
Yeah, this too. I love this too shall pass, man. And I prefer to use this too shall pass in happy moments, just to remember that, like, make the most of this moment because this moment will be gone and it will pass, and there will become a level of sadness that comes upon you at some point for whatever reason. So
I've come up with a couple of things that I'd like to do that make me more present. So no socials on Saturdays.
One day a week.
It's just so simple, and I know that's not a lot, but it's just 1 day a week where no social media, not going on, I'm not taking in, and I'm not posting, I'm not doing nothing.
That's my Monday.
Sometimes,
Is
sometimes there's very small adjustments. You only need to make small adjustments in life. That a friend of mine was saying, like, I noticed a little bit of a difference in his temperament. I was like, we were just chatting away. I can't really remember verbatim what the conversation was, but he was like, man, I just get up. First thing I do in the morning is go for a walk. I just go for a walk around my block. It's like been a game changer for me. And I thought about it. I was like, so you're getting up out of bed, straight into sunlight, not looking at your phone. You're just walking. Because he said, not with music or anything. You're just walking, like hearing the birds chirp. And as corny as it sounds, like
Don't tell me
we
about the
are
birds.
40, aren't we?
Don't tell me about the birds. I've got these fucking birds out my window, bro.
Yeah, right.
They are
Look at he gets these
2 a.m., 11 p.m., 3 a.m., 4:20 a.m. They're supposed to be sleeping, bro, and they're I'm trying to
isn't
be
it-
grateful.
And
then
it comes back to
the
awesome.
birds
Yeah, sorry.
at Wild Camp Out. I couldn't sleep in my tent, so I went and slept by the edge of the lake.
Yeah.
Fucking ducks came and attacked me, bro. It was like 10 a.m. I was like, what the fuck? There's like a gang of ducks, bro. Like fucking nearly coming to attack me, like full angry at me. So I was like,
flying
fuck.
V.
Yeah, quackheads, man.
It's such an interesting thing because we've spoken about it because you obviously hate it, but I love it. Like, but we're very
I
different.
like birds, plural.
Yeah, but
This is one bird. One bird amongst silence is very, very not enjoyable compared to a bunch of birds.
The peril of this bird over the next 6 months of hearing Delby carry on about the consistent listeners. I think they're going to love this story.
I met someone that can relate, man. She's a really old friend of mine. I bumped into her last Boxing Day.
Yeah.
I think it was, or the 28th on Saturday. And I was saying, I've got these birds. She goes, is it willy wax? I was like, yes. She's like, they're not. They're butcher birds. I got the same one. And I did the noise. She goes, that's them. She's like, I've fucking tried CDs in the trees. I've fucking got loud noises, infrared. I'm like, we need to share journals, man. We need to figure out.
I love it that much that I'm actually considering putting a bird bath in front of my bedroom.
Yeah. You're an idiot.
So it's weird, isn't it? Like, this is why it's individual. This is
Exactly
why
right.
everything is individual. Working on yourself.
Yes.
When it comes to like, I want to be a better person. I don't have to go. Oh, I found that walking every day makes me better. You have to do it.
Yes, no.
Just fucking do. Yeah, you said it as well earlier. Like whatever, whatever makes you happy, fucking good on you. When it comes to religion, if that's what makes you a better person and makes you much calmer and more peaceful, fucking awesome.
I remember when we were younger, Complete always struggled with his mental health as I did. And then so when I discovered meditation and yoga and I was in my Buddhist phase, that I started doing a lot of research on it, started doing it, and it was helping me. And then I went to his house and I was like, I've got the answer to all your problems.
Yeah.
I'm going to fix you. And I remember he didn't have a good reaction to that at all. And I was like, what's your problem? I'm trying to help you. And again, this goes back to my intention is good, but I wasn't being, I guess, considerate in my approach. Here's this guy that's been struggling with something his whole life, or as long as he cares to remember. And then I come along with the absolute air of arrogance about me to say, I got it. Like I figured it out. And it was just like the arrogant approach that I had. He just didn't respond well to that at all. But this is going back to the, gratitude stuff and like the meditation stuff, like that's kind of how I feel in prayer now. Like when I first started praying, I was like, I am struggling for the words, or I'm saying the same thing. I'm just saying the same things over and over.
Yeah.
Whereas these days, it's just like it comes a lot more easily. But what better way to it's like keeping a gratitude journal, because every day, multiple times a day, I'm thanking God for the things I'm grateful for, and it's keeping it all at the forefront, which is keeping me positive.
It's so funny. We are definitely aligned, because my daily things that I want to tick off my box, one of them says prayer/gratitude. It's not prayer. It's not gratitude.
It's automatic.
Both. Yeah.
It's automatic.
It's a lot easier. It's just a nice way to wake up and go, I'm thankful for my daughter's health.
It's better than going, I fucking hate my life. This is shit.
Correct.
I've got nothing going for me. Of course, the more you say that to yourself, the more you're going to live it.
I will think
It's just a simple fucking manifestation tool.
Maybe this is definitely an old person thing, but I'm thankful for my bed linen.
That's
Fresh
the thing.
bed linen is I'm sorry. When I have fresh bed linen, I'm in bed at 8 o'clock, ready to go.
That's the thing about like the gratitude journal, I guess, which might be even, in this perspective, be better than gratitude for prayer, because usually in prayer it's I'm grateful for my health, the health of my family. I'm grateful for opportunities. I'm grateful for, the acquisition of material goods that are of, I guess a positive influence for us, and comfort, and I'm just happy for a roof over my head. I'm grateful for, and you usually list all the same things. But when you keep a gratitude journal and it has to be different every day, you could get down to bed linen, and then you realize how many things you're actually grateful for and that you take for granted. But I also, when I was of that spiritual world that was like the yoga and the meditation and I just believe in the universe kind of thing. When I was like that, and I'm not teasing that, again, it works for some people, and the whole universe thing is, I guess,
He's attacking us, Branch.
Yeah, but it's also still like that's part of it. That's
what
still
I look at as God anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But it's
just different
the
words.
creator of the universe now.
Yeah.
But so it was. They push gratitude, be grateful, and then they push surrender as well. And then after a while, it was like, but be grateful to who? Like, where is my gratitude meant to land, or my surrender? Or who am I surrendering to? I've been trying to surrender for years now, and it's not working.
Yeah.
Like, now
If you were French, it would have been way easier.
Yeah. But I think
you're much more selective now, and they're in good spots.
Yeah, and I think that's and we keep getting at it, not preaching, not pushing, just doing it yourself.
Yes.
All self-reflection and
Yeah,
understanding.
yeah.
Because what's this saying? We say it over and over now in the podcast. Well, everyone has a story, but what good is a story if you don't speak each other's language? And if you're not ready to hear it, that's when you're not ready to hear that sort of advice. And maybe it's not right for you. Maybe it's the wrong advice for you. Maybe it was the right advice for that person, but not that person. So,
But even Jesus said, he said, by your fruits they will know you. So it's not about what you say, it's about what you do. I guess the whole actions speak louder than words thing. Because like you said before about there are false prophets and teachers out there that are just saying stuff to say stuff, like they're part of the church, but they're not actually living with, I guess, as actual followers of Jesus Christ. But it's like what am I trying to say? So there's a saying in the church where it's like always preach the gospel, sometimes use words. And it's saying like, let other people see the effect. You don't have to, like, there are evangelists out there, and I get it, like, they have good intentions, but I'm not there, and I don't see myself getting there. But I, like, it's not that I want to show people through my works; they just will. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise, if you want to show people through your works, it becomes
It's an ego and that's self-serving.
unauthentic and disingenuine. And to be honest with you, because Hannah's not a believer, Hannah's actually quite against it, which is a whole challenge in itself. But I respect that.
Yeah,
that's fine,
that's
and
so
she
good.
has her reasons why as well.
Yeah.
She
And it
lost-
shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
she lost her mum when she was young. That's her journey. If it's going to happen to her for whatever reason, God willing, let it be. I would love that, but it's also it's got nothing to do with me. Like, and she, for the most part, leaves. If she spazzed out a bit at first, like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on? And I just have to respect that and understand it. And it is what it is. But at first, I was like, I want Hannah to believe, so I'm going to just start being Mr. Nice Guy all the time. And then just like, and then so she'll go, oh, look at the effect it's had on Aaron. And then she might start to go, but now it's like I said to you before, God hasn't worked on me. Like, I'm a work in progress. I'm like, he's working on me. And so let her see over time if it has an effect on me and if it doesn't. But it has to be genuine. It has to, otherwise I'm not.
Well, otherwise you're serving your ego, and the intention is not to live because you love God and the way of Jesus. It's because I want my girlfriend to also be part of this with me.
Yeah.
Look how good I am, that you're going to be good. It
Exactly.
shouldn't be that. It should
Yeah.
just be like, here it is, I'm living this. and she'll
Exactly.
see it.
Yeah, just be an example.
And it was one of my friends, one of my Christian friends who never pushed it on me for a long time. And now I'm like somewhat immersed in the faith, or I am immersed in the faith. I've realized how knowledgeable and how faithful he is. Like, his name's Telly, and I love him with all my heart, and I have him to thank for so much, especially like kind of guiding me on this journey. But he explained it like this, and I loved this parable, if you will. And again, there's always parables everywhere there. But he said, and I really, really related to this. It's like a young kid gets given a puzzle by his father, and his father says, go figure this out, go put this together. And the kid tries for years and years and years. The kid just can't figure it out. He's getting close sometimes. Oh no, it's wrong. And he's just trying to get this puzzle right. And it's just really challenging, and he's really struggling with it. And then after many, many years of trying and giving it his best crack and just saying, I just can't do this, and takes it back to his father and says, I can't do this. And then the father says, sit down, we'll do it together. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Like, I've been trying to do this by myself for so long, and I've taken the puzzle back, and I've been like, I don't know how to do this, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this. Sit down with me and do it with me. So it's not like it's going to take time, the change that Hannah is or not going to see in me. Maybe she won't. Maybe she's like happy, just like attributing it to other things. Like, but it's not about her. Like you said before, it's about me, and your individual journey and decisions you make are about you, and yourself about you as well. And that's what people have to remember. And also, when I want to start putting I believe in front of things and not speaking in absolutes, because people get so lost in that. It's like, this is da-da-da. It's like, I believe da-da-da-da. It just changes the whole perspective of the conversation. Do you know what I mean? I believe this, I believe that, I believe this. And it's just like a really nice, healthy sharing of ideas. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if it's like, no, this. It's like, well, wait a minute. If he says that means he disagrees with me. But if you just put I believe in front of it, then the other person goes, oh, well, that's what he believes.
Yeah.
I'll let him do that.
Yeah.
I love that,
It's
man.
a nice parable because it's about connection as well.
Yeah.
And it's a mental health comparison as well. You can't do it all on your own. It's okay to ask for help sometimes.
And it doesn't matter who you're going to
anything.
for help.
It doesn't
When I
matter.
say the father, we all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it might be your friend. It might
Yeah.
be Telly. It might be Jamie. No, do you know what I mean? It could be anything or anyone. So I just don't like knowing that people are struggling. And that going back to what you were saying before about the wanting to make people laugh.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make people laugh. So in my 9 to 5, like, everyone's a little bit stagnant. No one wants to be there.
You could do stand up from last year's Christmas party. You could definitely do it.
You reckon?
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
bro.
But this is where I take my hat off to stand-up comedians, because it is. I've been on stage in front of thousands of people. Like, you know, I think the biggest crowd I ever performed to was like 13,000 people. I wasn't that nervous. I was like,
a
I
happy
used
place.
to confuse, like, I've gone blank for
excitement with
like, I guess
nerves
excitement, or anticipation with nerves. Like, I'm really nervous, and it's like, no, I can't wait to get out there. That's what this like excitable energy is.
Yeah.
And then, but we are protected by the music. It's all rehearsed. It's all there. Even if I forget my words, which is my biggest fear, the music's there to cover me. And if not, again, like saying before, I can admit to my mistakes. Sometimes if I'm like cut out, I'm like, my bad, guys. Let's try that again. And whatever, that moment will pass, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll just make sure the rest of my set, I got to nail this. you know?
Yeah.
And so, but the stand-up comedy, man, it's just so, like you saying before about bombing, like I hear that, and that's I'm fearful of that. And again, I've got this like foundation built up of just being always appreciated on stage. Between every song, people cheer.
Yeah.
Like I've never really effed up that bad where it's like,
You got good banter between. That's what I mean. That's where I saw your stand-up abilities.
Yeah,
It's
right.
in between your songs.
oh yeah, I've started mixing
Real
in a lot
funny.
of that.
Yeah, it's funny as, bro.
That's the way for me to kind of test the waters.
Yeah,
Is
it's
when
good.
I'm performing.
It's
now.
basically stand-up with rap in between.
Yeah, okay.
Like, you kill it.
Well,
Speaking of rap, should we hear you
should we
finish off with-
maybe we'll just finish off with probably the song that you feel
The most?
sums up the album the most, maybe.
Oh yeah, I got you then.
And that's how we can play out the episode. We won't even put our end music in.
Cool.
That's actually hard between two. No, I got you. All right,
Yeah.
let's do this one.
Fuck yeah. Well, actually, before we play, have you got it ready to go?
Yeah,
Cool. Do you want to plug
let's
anything? Do you want to?
toss that? Flip it for me. Okay, cool.
That's Joel Jamal's podcast as well. The Arc. Those
Nice.
things there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you want to plug your
Yeah, you wanna
album?
plug-
Where can people get
Oh
it?
yeah. So I think I'm going to call the album Highly Favoured.
Highly favoured.
Highly Favoured. Yeah.
Oh, that's a bit self-serving and egocentric. Yeah.
But originally it was Sweet Surrender, and then it changed to Testimony, and now it's Highly Favoured. So I might not even land on this. This is where I just wanted it to capture the essence of the album, and I do feel highly favoured. I do, and having gratitude is changing everything for me. So it makes sense. But yeah, there was a song called Heaven and a song called Testimony I was going to play, but it was that side, wasn't it? So that's Testimony. So this will actually be track one. So this is the
Where
intro.
can people buy it or find it?
So it'll be on. I'm still signed to Draft's label, and it's called Ghost Bat Records, which is a subset of, I think it's either Warner or Sony. Sorry, brother. And so it'll be. I don't know if I'm going to do physical copies this time. Being my last album, I might do physical copies. I might do what Nipsey Hussle did and just press 100 of them and sell them for $100 each.
Yeah.
Because it'll be a limited edition, or even 50 of them and sell them for $100 each.
Yeah.
But I don't know. See how we go.
Sick.
And then all the online streaming services, obviously. So, but yeah, this is called Testimony. This is the first track. Sorry.
Oh, before we play, Delby, do you want to plug anything?
No, all good.
And
Fringe Festival. So got heaps of shows coming up. I've only sold 56 tickets, so support my life.
Yeah, Fringe.
Just search my name and it will come up in all the Fringe World stuff.
Yeah, look up, and for mine, look up Sir Henry's venue, and I'll be in a lot of shows there. So,
What's that venue like? Because they're starting to put on hip hop shows here and there.
Yeah,
It's a cool little space.
It's cool
Is it?
on the stage area, and then we've set up a separate little comedy room where we've got 2 speakers going in there. It's going to be be very good. It'll be a bit of a lesson this year, I think.
Yeah.
But I think we're very willing to do a monthly show from Fringe onwards.
Good on you, man.
Very happy. So, fuck yeah. Let's hear this song. What is it?
This is called Testimonies, track 1.
Sick.
Yeah.
If I should die today, then tell them that this was my testimony. Yeah, you better believe it. I've got a talent to challenge the status quo. The media leaving is poison. Every time that we have a dose, the facts are subtracted and now we're distracted from all of the matters that matter most. They say any hope that we had is toast. Kiss it goodbye and say adios. As long as I'm here and I'm breathing, then I got a reason to keep it a buck. People can say that I'm speaking too much. I don't believe that I'm speaking enough. I speak on the stuff that they keep it from us. I mean the elites that are evil and sus. Demons with secrets, they're keeping them hush. And turning our freedom to dust. They're saying that money is king, but I know the crown is the Lord's. They're thinking that money is power, and if you have money, then power is yours. But power's in numbers, so we gotta stand together. And I think about that when I'm putting my hands together. Nah, I don't mean like a round of applause. I'm praying for love, I'm praying for them, and I'm praying for you. Praying for peace in whatever you do. Praying for strength and it's getting me through. I pray for my friends, pray for my family. Something I thought would never be true. I pray for the people that hate me. Yeah, lately I pray for my enemies too. So I had to admit I was at my limit, and I had to let them in, and within a minute I felt it. Living in a prison and giving myself hell. Forbidden by the wicked, and I was wicked and selfish. Sick of all my sinning, and I was sick of myself. The devil had the sickle that I would tickle myself with. I was in a pickle, I was innocent and helpless. And God came when nobody else did, so I'm back on track. And this is why rap's gone whack, cause never wanna act all flash. Talking about racks on racks, but never put facts on tracks. And you can rely on your boy to study my mind and silence the noise. That's just the pride that I'm trying to destroy. That's not a side of me I can enjoy. See, I'm trying to get rid of my anger, so I'm a danger when pen meets pad. And unless you wanna let me spaz, it's something you don't ever wanna let me have. You wanna know what grinds my gears? Yeah, you wanna know what gets me mad? When dudes wanna say they're men, but then they wanna act like deadbeat dads. So now I look back at the times that I was alone, depressed and lonely. There's only one Messiah to set me on fire, the rest are phony. So if I should die today, I just hope that you were blessed to know me. And if I should die today, then tell them that this was my testimony. Yeah. If I should die today, then tell them that this was my testimony. Yeah. And if I should die today, then tell them that this was my testimony. Yeah. If I should die today, then tell them that this was my testimony. Yeah. And if I should die today, then tell them that this was my testimony.